What is up, RotoGrinders? Welcome to the NFL DFS Week 5 slate. To start of 3.5 hours of nonstop NFL DFS conversation starts right now. It is the People's Show. We're going to go for an hour and a half. Myself, former $1 million winner Bobby Gomes, TastefulTides, Tim Buell, single entry specialist, 3-entry max specialist, cash game specialist. We got Beimfohr coming in 11 o'clock on the East Coast, as well as Neil Orfield, another $1 million winner. Jordan joins them. Brit, Kristi, TJ, one of the greatest DFS players, all of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. Multitasking today, producer extraordinaire. He's behind the proverbial glass right now, and he'll be jumping on as an analyst later on in the show. Bye weeks for the first time this season, so our slate is thinner. It's just 10 games. We have 10 games today, and unfortunately, you can't play Puka. Puka's not available. CMC's not available. So two of the best players to spend up on not available. We have all the value in the world running back. We'll talk about that as well. All the salary, I don't know what to do with it because I can't spend up on Lamar. Lamar's not available. Josh Allen's not available. My favorite receiver's out. My favorite quarterbacks are out. But, we're going to figure it out. We're going to talk through it. And let's bring in Bobby, a well-rested Bobby Gomes. Happy Sunday morning. What's up, Bobby?
Yeah, good to see you, Dean. Good to see you, Tim. Interesting slate, right? All these injuries, taking a lot of the studs off the slate, so pricing seems a little looser, as it usually would be in week 4. Down to 10 games now, so it's a little bit more condensed. I'm excited for today. Seems like we got some good pivot spots, so interested to see where you guys are at, especially you, Tim.
But well, say what you want to say, Bobby. Jeez. What's up, Tim? Happy Sunday. I want to hear what Tim has to say. Bobby, as a courtesy, I'll ask him some questions here and there. What's up, Tim? Good morning.
Yeah, doing well. Great to see you both. Always look forward to doing the show with you guys. I mean, I think I do. This is by far my favorite show to do. So it's a good time for, whatever 17 weeks of the season. So I wouldn't want to work all year with you two, but 17, 18 weeks is okay.
That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, I think the slate is super interesting, and I think that there's some really, really like chalky, pretty obvious plays for cash games, but only in a couple spots. So I think this there are decisions to be made in both large field stuff and smaller field stuff, and cash games as well.
It's interesting. Well, we'll touch on cash games. Obviously, we're going to knock that out. Our main thing we do here is the tiers. We ranked every single team. We throw them on the tier board, 1 through 5, 1 being great, 5 being not so spectacular. And we'll talk through the teams as we, specifics as we go through that. But I did want to touch on cash. Interesting you said, Tim, that there's some obvious plays at cash. And I don't know. Okay, officially, I'm not playing cash this week for the reason I'm going to explain. I think there's too many good plays. And it's kind of hard to make a bad cash lineup. Like if you know what you're doing, the basic constructs of cash, there's different 2v2s and 1v1s and 3v3s that you can get to, but you're basically there. And I'm afraid that everybody's going to be there. And, there's 6 good running back plays, maybe more, that you could argue, I think, for cash. So I don't know if there's any obvious cash game plays. There's an obvious pool, like clearly defined, you're in the pool, out of the pool for me. But as far as the official, like, how do you start building? Do you have someone just like, no matter what, this is my quarterback, this is my running back to start with this? Well, 3 running back week. We could say that, yes, without question, not a conversation. 3 running back week, yes.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, take me through your thought process for cash, because I know a cash game play when I see it. It's just building the cash game lineup is. Again, if you have the pool in front of you, I think it's hard to kind of put a bad lineup out there. How are you seeing it?
So sometimes, I'll run optimals. Like my primary sources are RotoGrinders projections and Derek Carty's the Blitz projections. And when I'll run, let's say, 150 teams in both. And when the primary quarterback is the same guy on both those sites, and it's not the guy that I'm assuming he was going to be, I think that is something to take note of. Like both the Blitz and RotoGrinders projections have Daniel Jones as the optimal quarterback in both of their optimal lineups.
A little surprised.
I was just assuming it was going to be Justin Fields, like everywhere. Like I thought it would just be everything was popping for Justin Fields. So I think there is going to be a subset of users that just use a blanket optimal in their cash game builds, and they're going to use Daniel Jones. Now, am I going to sit here and say, is Daniel Jones a bad play? No. I mean, going up against that Raiders defense, we know Daniel Jones has rushing upside. But I think the play is clearly Justin Fields. I was on the Blitz show. I was filling in for Alex Dunlop on the Blitz show earlier this week, and I just kept bringing up the Jets and Dallas game because I just assumed that it's going to be Justin Fields' week. So I think that, Justin Fields is the clear and obvious cash game quarterback today. And I think there's a chance that people might play Daniel Jones. And I think there's a chance that people might play Justin Herbert. And I think both of those are mistakes in cash games this week.
TJ,
as of an update on both of them just like a couple minutes ago.
Okay.
I think, oh no, you're right. For some reason, Justin Fields popped in as the optimal quarterback for me with the RotoGrinders projections, but Daniel Jones still has a better projection, but the RotoGrinders optimal is looking like you need those 200. And so Fields has slightly edged him on RotoGrinders just based on you need that $200. But the Blitz just had an update, and Daniel Jones actually has even grown his it's now, instead of a third of a point, it's a full half point difference between Jones and Fields now. So
what about the ownership? Who's higher owned on RG and the Blitz?
RotoGrinders 18% Fields, 12% Daniel Jones, and then on the Blitz, it is 15% Justin Fields, 10% Daniel Jones. I actually was chiming in because I thought the projection update made it so Fields was the higher projected option now, but my eyes weren't working early this morning, and that's not the case, so I didn't actually need to chime in.
Yeah, I think I might be even higher on Fields when everything settles. I'm a little bit surprised on the Jones thing. And I think, like to your point, that's kind of making my point, Tim, is that if somebody plays Jones, I'm not going to laugh at them. Like, that's a perfectly fine play in cash. And again, if you look at the Jones lineups, I'm sure they're good lineups. So it's kind of like a 51-49. So I'm just avoiding. I'm not, you do what you want to do, and you're probably going to do well. You're probably going to make a good cash lineup, and things are going to work out for you. But I just think there's too many good plays. It's just sort of my concern there. By the way, Calvin Ridley expected to play. And I don't know if you guys saw some notes. Rachaad White. The expectation is White is going to be the guy for Tampa today. Not necessarily the greatest situation here as far as the setup against Seattle, tough matchup, but also a really good pass receiver. It's not a ton of clarity, but with all the injuries there, we're expecting that White is going to be the number one there for Tampa. With Sean Tucker is lurking as well. Spears is back today for Tennessee. Mentioned Ridley should be good to go as well. Big dogs here in Arizona. I did see a note that AJ Brown is not going to be traded, which is okay. I mean, there's rumblings of the receivers are upset there in Philadelphia because they're winning, but they're not winning in a fun way. I suppose they're not fun enough for the receivers. Is there a dog rummaging in something? What is that?
Yeah, it's my bulldog. She's always so loud, and she's like 10, 12 feet away from me, and she still makes so much noise. And now she knows
she's much quieter when she's under her lap. Yeah,
I know, right? Yeah.
I'm like, what is that? I'm like, I heard it and I heard it. I'm like, am I making this up in my ear? No, it's real.
Give her another minute, and she'll fall asleep. But we won't.
Okay, no, she's fine.
Yeah,
I just wanted some clarity. It was just sort of throwing me off there for a second.
He hates dogs.
I love dogs. Do not do that. That is one narrative I will quickly defend against. I don't know why you want to push that agenda. Oh, you know what else I love? I love Superstar Sunday. It's Superstar Sunday. I love giving away RotoGrinders Premium. You get yourself a week free of RG Premium football, baseball, basketball, hockey, NBA, PGA, MMA, all the goods, all the bells, all the whistles, the optimizer, the SimLabs, everything you think of. Just tell me tell me what superstar I'm thinking of. It's going to be scrolling there in the bottom in just a second. I'm going to give you 5 clues, periodically dropping throughout the show. Only official guesses in the Discord channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord. That is the live stream chat channel. The first clue, not that helpful, but the first clue is HOF. HOF in capital letters. What could that mean? HOF in capital letters. Get in that Discord channel. Tell me what superstar I'm talking about, and you get yourself a week free of RG Premium. Tim, what have you seen in the I know you like to mess with SimLabs stuff a lot. Is there anything that's just sort of kind of jumped out to you this week? Because I feel like more times, I'm not somebody that's obsessed with ownership stuff. And if like something is good chalk, I'll just play the good chalk and I'll try to get different elsewhere. But this feels to me like a slate more times than other slates. A lot of similar plays. If I can get to some plays that are going to be lower owned that are basically the same, I want to do that. Is anything kind of popping for you in SimLabs that you're seeing that's maybe a little bit surprising?
You know, I would say normally I wouldn't make such a big deal of this, but I do see like a significant kind of difference depending on which projection source you use. I would say that, I'd say that the blitz is very, very high on this Giants Saints game, just because the blitz has this as the fastest paced game on the slate. So I think that makes a ton of sense. And I do like this game from a DFS perspective, no doubt about it. And if I'm looking at like our RG projections, I'm getting to a ton of like Justin Herbert, Justin Herbert doubles. I got to more like Justin Herbert triples too, that I was expecting. So, definitely, I felt like, the Sims are more bullish than I was on definitely on this Chargers team, on Justin Herbert in general. So definitely, I thought that was noteworthy, because I'm personally not. I mean, I do like that game, no doubt, but it's not my favorite. And it's definitely an interesting week. Like there are fewer games that we're used to seeing because we have the bye weeks now. And there's just a ton of options. So it's not really condensing on too many individual players outside of guys like JSN, who we'll talk about. JSN is going to be very, very popular. Guys like Rico, Dowdle are going to be pretty popular as well. So getting to a ton of him. But I guess from a team's perspective, I was getting to a lot more Chargers than I was expecting.
So, Tim, I make some notes before, as I was like looking at as I'm building lineups, I kind of have my pool sort of written down as well, my main players I'm looking at, and I write a few notes to myself, and I'll read my notes. It says Hall with no Fields, so I'm trying to get one of Fields or Hall. I don't make a lot of lineups. Lion in every lineup, a Lion in every single lineup? Question mark. Well, just make sure to get if ever I need the default, I'm trying to figure out between one guy and another guy. Just make it a Lion. Make it a Lion. I don't know what to do with Philly or Jaden Daniels. Like the two running court, there's no Lamar, there's no Josh Allen. We have money to spend up on those guys. It's not hard to get Hurts. It's not hard to get Jaden Daniels. But I'm probably fading. Both, which I don't like, but that's what I'm doing. And the last notes, Tim, that I had was I'm afraid of not having enough Chargers. I don't think I'm playing the Chargers today.
I don't think I am either. I don't think I am either, to be honest with you. And I'm definitely afraid of that. This game, or I should say the Chargers in particular, are a lot. I mean, they're going to be owned. Like I kind of thought this was just kind of like early week stuff, seeing all this projected ownership on the Chargers, but no, it's real. And I don't think I'm going to get to a ton of it. So. It's definitely one of those stances that you have to take when you're a single entry 3-max player. And I don't even know if I'm going to be playing any of these Chargers in cash games. So it's definitely kind of a scary fade.
I'm not playing cash, but I probably wouldn't. But I guess you could play Herbert, but I prefer Fields, and it sounds like you prefer Fields as well. So that's probably what I would
definitely. I would definitely play Fields over Herbert.
How about yourself, Bobby? Overarching thoughts, 10 gamer, all the money you want. It's not exact. It's kind of like a pick'em, but not really a pick'em, but it's sort of like a pick'em in some ways. That's the way I'm seeing the board. It's another week where I think you're supposed to make lineups, and every player in your lineup is, you can at least tell a story that there's a plausible reason. You don't have to get too goofy. At least that's kind of the way I am seeing it. You're making more lineups than myself and Tim. How many lineups are you making today?
150. So yeah. I think it's very interesting based on where, like, just going in the Chargers stack, for example. Ladd McConkey, 5.5, right? Chalk last week. Dropped like 2 passes that could have gave him a relatively big game. People aren't going to go there. And that range specifically, there's Waddle. There's a lot of chalk pieces from a salary perspective. So the Herbert doubles, I think, is something people will probably be off. So I don't mind like McConkey and Quentin Johnson with Herbert. If I was playing cash, I wouldn't consider Herbert. The interesting thing for me, like if you were playing cash games, I think it is Fields as well. But if you're playing single entry tournaments, is it a pivot to Daniel Jones? No. I think the Sims around the industry like that pivot. I think they're forcing more Justin Fields for sure. I think my current single entry team is a Justin Fields team, so I'm leaning the Justin Fields side. I'm kind of losing Daniel Jones. I think it's more like Fields and Herbert for like single entry, small field for me. And then maybe some Kyler Murray as well. I think Kyler's pretty interesting. Marvin Harrison is another receiver who's throw up in your mouth, like how bad he's looked. And then the other night he catches that touchdown late and completely destroys a lot of your teams for fading him. That was me on the Monday night, or I think it was Monday night, right? But I don't mind getting to Kyler. Has the rushing equity in that same range. Maybe someone people overlook. You can pair him with McBride as well. I would prefer McBride to Marvin Harrison Jr., but I think the double's fine. That's pretty much my kind of basic thoughts for single entry and 3 max, and then doing some different stuff when we get into stacks. I'll talk about it for large field.
I pretty much never play Kyler Murray, and I get the spot today. It looks great. I feel like I can kind of get away with just playing McBride, which sort of covers him, I think. That I don't know if that's true or not. We'll see.
Kyler stinks for sure, but
yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah,
the spot's spectacular. That
offense stinks for what it's worth too, like horrendous.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it later on. The guessing game between Carter and DeMarcado. They're probably going to run all 3. Like I don't think Knight's going to play a ton, but Knight probably gets on the field. They're down to their 3rd, 4th, and 5th running backs at this point. Speculation is that Carter is probably going to be the guy. He's 4K. He's really, really cheap. He's 4K on both DK and FanDuel. So he's one of those, again, there's so many spots this week at running back. If I wasn't clear before, if you missed it, Bucky's out for Tampa Bay. I assume everybody knows that. But that's why Tampa Bay's, White and Tucker. White should be the lead dog there. Also really, really good catching the ball. And they're 4-point dogs here in Seattle. All right. Anything else we want to say, big picture-wise, before we dive in and just do our tiers? Just trying to see. Wait, did we officially say hello to chat? What's up, chat? Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Turn on those notifications. We appreciate all that. Shout out to the Cleveland Browns. We're playing football in London. They just scored a touchdown. First touchdown of Gabriel's career. Shout out UCF via Oregon. Fannin scored a touchdown. So a 1-yard touchdown, Gabriel to Fannin. Looks like Judkins broke off a 32-yard run as well. So Minnesota down 7-0 early. All right. Big picture-wise, Bobby, anything else you want to say? Or it's just all going to kind of come out as we're talking about the old game-by-game deal?
I think as we're talking about it, I think it more like what you're doing between like basically Fields, Daniel, like just up top, Fields, Daniel Jones, Herbert, Kyler. Those are guys that for the smaller field stuff or single entry that I have the most interested in the large field. my QBs kind of change a little bit. Probably looking at Goff. Probably have some Browning. Probably play the Dak side of the jet scheme a little bit.
Just notice this now as, and apologies if you guys brought up the Brock Bowers thing already, but with Bowers unlikely to play, Michael Myers questionable dealing with that concussion, Jacoby Myers, his projection is absolutely popping now this morning.
I cannot wait to fade him.
Probably the first player you're playing in cash games now, though.
Yeah, probably the first player playing in cash.
Yeah, which again, just another good cash game play. I guess he's right there with Waddle as far as the conversation. JSN's a great cash game play. I'm curious, Tim, have you
core? It's Myers, JSN, Fields.
Yeah, I mean Myers' projection is obviously fantastic. I would say that whole pricing range for wide receiver today is fantastic. So, I mean, if you want to, just follow the projection, which you're supposed to do in cash games, then Jacoby Myers is definitely the game, definitely the play. But there are other guys right around in that price range that I think are going to be really spectacular. I really like, and the other thing is, I really like the Colts defense. So it's like I don't know if I want.
That's a good call. I like that.
I don't know if I necessarily want to get to a ton of exposure to Jacoby Myers in GPP settings. Like if you want to play him in cash, that's fine. But I do think pricing's pretty weird at wide receiver this week, just because we don't have a ton of guys to pay up for, and this mid range is absolutely loaded. So I see no reason to get carried away with your exposures to Jacoby Myers in GPPs, especially if you think he's going to get super steamed here to heading into lock. So I would also say, Mr. Richard just made a really good point in the YouTube chat. It's Trey Tucker. Chris and Mr. Richard both mentioned that in chat. Like if Jacoby Myers is going to get super steamed, like what happens to Trey Tucker now? So it's just I don't know if I'm like necessarily running to the window to play Jacoby, just because that whole price range is really strong. You've got guys like Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, we already talked about Ladd, Ted McMillan, Jalen Waddle. Like all these guys are right in between 5,000 and 6,000 that I think are absolutely spectacular plays. So it's I don't think you have to go crazy with Jacoby.
You just have all this salary again with so many good plays in the mid tier as far as receivers, so many good running backs that are cheap, nowhere to spend it. Well, I mean, in cash games, I think you have to play either McBride or Tyler Warren at tight end. Is that fair to say, Tim? You got to play one of those two. Cash games. We have all this money in the world. Spend up on tight end at either Warren or McBride. Is that fair?
I like Jake Ferguson.
Okay.
You
don't have the money to get away from Ferguson? I know he's the PPR scam, right? But I really like Jake Ferguson this week. So I don't think you necessarily have to play Warren or McBride. I think you can add in Jake Ferguson into that conversation as well. Interesting. Are you getting one of? Do you have a shell lineup right now? I'm not asking you for a lineup, but do you have a shell?
I actually don't. No.
I think you got to have one of Achane or Taylor, at least one of the big boys at running back. I think you got to have one of those two.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about Ferguson, like it's just where are you going to spend your money? I guess you'll have JSN as well. You'll have JSN and one of Achane or Taylor.
Correct.
And but Ferguson's fine. Like it's not bad. It's just you got to get it 7 yards at a time, which maybe
he's under 5K. You can do that pretty easily.
But salary doesn't matter. Is my retort. But yeah, I hear you. TJ says my most recent build doesn't have Achane or Taylor in cash. I mean,
got Gibbs.
You have Gibbs in cash.
It just how I had 7,700 remaining, and so that's just kind of how it worked. But I really like the idea. I want to play both Dowdle and White, which I know like that was a conversation on our Blitz show yesterday, Tim, where Cardi was saying probably just wants to get to one of them in cash just because you don't really need to play two of them. But I like the idea of playing both. So I ended up with White, Dowdle, Gibbs, and it allows me to pay up for JSN and Amon-Ra in the same lineup.
And again, that's the crux of my point. Your lineup's not bad. It's not bad, and it's still without two really, really good running backs. A lot of people are going to have. It's just cash games. I think it's just going to be so tough to make a bad lineup today at cash. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's jump to our tiers. Let's throw some teams in some tiers. Today's tier category. Let's see. Today's tier category. Oh yeah. Let's drop the second clue. By the way, we only have one clue dropped. Let's drop the second clue for Superstar Sunday. We want to get a winner. No winners just yet. Nobody banked it. No hole in one. But second clue. First clue is HOF. Second clue is Brown. Superstar Sunday. Brown is the second clue. Tell me what superstar I'm talking about, and you get yourself a week free of RG Premium. Okay, so today's tier category is fictitious restaurants in movies or TV shows that you'd want to visit for one reason or another. You'd want it. What fake restaurants in a movie or a TV show would Tim want to visit? Fake restaurant, not existent, but in the world of the movie or the world of the TV show. Did you have an answer for me, Tim? What's the first thing that comes to mind? Chat, let me know too.
Whatever the restaurant's called in Goodfellas, I would definitely want to go to that one.
That's a good answer. Yeah, I can't remember.
I don't remember what it's called though. You got
to go in through the back door as well.
Right. Yeah.
VIP service. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not. I can't recall what the name of that is, but
does the Bada Bing count from Sopranos?
That's not a restaurant. No, but you could.
You could order food there.
They might have wings. I don't know. I don't know their menu. But Vesuvio, you could have said Vesuvio from Sopranos, the Italian restaurant. That would have been potentially, that would have been on the board. But I did consider it. TJ says Bob's Burgers. I did consider Bob's Burgers on the board as well. It's another fictitious. I considered Good Burger. Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Yeah. So I had a list. I probably can do this again because I had too many names.
How did you end up deciding this is what you wanted to rank?
What do you mean? Like what? Oh, like which? How I actually rank them? Well, I'll explain to you when I get.
No, how did you come to the conclusion that today you're going to rank fictitious restaurants?
Because I saw, I saw a clip. I must have saw a clip or a screenshot of the one hole, and I was like, oh yeah, I definitely. This is a place that would be licensed to print money if it actually existed. And I feel like somebody might have attempted it and just didn't work for whatever reason. But I don't even know if most people get the reference or not. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Not really sure. But we can go ahead and roll out. You got nothing else? No other suggestions?
Yeah, definitely the diner from Pulp Fiction. Jimmy just pointed out in YouTube chat, which is a good call.
Well, it's funny. I don't have the diner. It's a little dangerous, that diner. I don't know if you necessarily want to go to the diner from Pulp Fiction, but I do have something for Pulp Fiction. That's funny you say that.
I don't know any of these places.
Well, I can explain to you in a second. I'm happy to do that. Well, Tim, Jackrabbit Slims. You can get yourself a steak. Don't be a square. Obviously, the throwback of you can get the Marilyn Monroe, and you can get the Buddy Holly. You get your waiter. Everybody's kind of dressed up as a throwback actor or actress.
That's a good call, Dean.
Eating in a car? I mean, come on, that's amazing. I saw something on Jackrabbit Slims, and I'm like, oh yeah, how has this not happened? How has nobody made this? Because it feels like we'll make $1 billion. And as a side note, they had to kind of build this. A big part of the budget for Pulp Fiction went to building Jackrabbit Slims, apparently, because it's a low budget film. Number 2 is Los Pollos Hermanos. Los Pollos Hermanos, which incidentally enough, it happens to be my phone. There, if you don't know Los Pollos Hermanos, there you go.
I thought this was only movies, Dean.
Movies and TV shows.
Oh, I didn't hear that part. I would have had a lot more guesses. It was tougher to find, or tougher to figure out movie ones.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Bob's Burgers was thrown out there. Central Perk, which if you like coffee, I guess. But yeah, Los Pollos Hermanos. The chicken looks spectacular, so I would want to go to Los Pollos Hermanos. It's based in New Mexico. I don't know if it still exists. I don't think it does because there was an incident. But yeah, Los Pollos Hermanos is in the 2-hole. 3 Cafe 80s, which of course we all know Cafe 80s is from Back to the Future 2. That's where Michael J. Fox goes back to the past. No, he goes to the future. Yeah. So Cafe 80s, where I think Ronald Reagan is your waiter electronically, if you remember. 4 is Patty's Irish Pub. I think it'll be interesting. Like, shenanigans would go down. There'll be good people watching there, but the food's probably terrible if there even is food. Whatever food is at Patty's Irish Pub, and
Is that
bad
Always
service.
Sunny in Philadelphia?
Yeah, it's Always Sunny. Yeah,
Nice. Good. That's a good pull.
but like, you don't really want to be there, right? Like, that's you're not going to get good service.
You want to check it out, but you don't want to you want to check it out for what you might see. You don't want to
go once.
Go for the food.
Yeah. And then the tier 5 is Hawthorne, which is a very snooty restaurant. It's from the menu. And things take a turn where you probably don't want to be. I don't know if you guys have seen the menu or not.
I saw like a little bit and I shut it off because it's too violent. Is it the same one? It gets.
You want the same person who's like saying, "Where's the Sopranos?" You're saying the menu is too violent for you, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna make sure. So Hawthorne is the name of the restaurant from the menu, and that's a place I definitely would not want to be a patron of because things probably won't end well. Tim, have you seen the menu?
I've never even heard of this.
You should see it. It's good. I like it at least. But if the restaurant's available, do not go there. Yeah, I considered the bear. The bear's being thrown out there. The bear is, it's on the board. We can make this board another day because it's a super, just a lot of options. Okay, so let's throw some teams in some tiers. I don't think we got a winner in the Discord channel. I don't believe so. Let's see. No, not just
How about
yet.
them Blue Jays before we start?
Shout out to your Blue Jays.
How about them Blue Jays? You hit your bet yesterday. I got my dub. We exhausted that bullpen a little bit. Great game 1.
I was very excited. I was upset that Heel exited early, but that bullpen for New York fully collapsed late in the game. So, yeah, we had a lot of Toronto. Basically every single run they scored, we hit another bet. So that was pretty fun. We enjoyed that. Shout out to TJ's Blue Jays. Okay, Mitch is saying the Seinfeld restaurant. Yeah, that's Monk's Cafe. What's the food's probably fine. It's a cafe. Okay, let's do it. Let's throw some teams and some tiers. Giants, Saints, 42.5 total. Saints are a 1.5 point favorite. We're expecting Taysom Hill to be available, which is wild. He's I guess he's recovered way ahead of schedule, despite the fact he's 35 years old. And also Foster Moreau, so that the tight end room might get a little bit cluttered. I didn't see an official word on Jawan Johnson, but he was dinged at least this week. Dart is back. Scatterboo, of course, is back. No Neighbors. Elevation of Slayton, possibly Wandale. But we're in a dome here, Tim. Tim, you're going first. Tim's batting first. Giants and the Saints.
Yeah, I already mentioned this game in terms of pace. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. I know that Cardi has this game as the projected highest number of plays, fastest pace. I think this game is priced really affordably as well. The only issue that I have is kind of efficiency concerns. Like, I know the volume is going to be there, but will these two teams necessarily score enough to hit ceilings that you need to win? You need to have to win GPPs. But I still absolutely do love this game. I'm going to put them in the Los Polos tier. Both teams. There are super easy stacks to create to correlate with this game. Cam Scatterbo, especially on FanDuel, is a fantastic play. Chris Olave, obviously, he's a really solid play on DraftKings at 5,200. I think you can get exposure to both these quarterbacks too in GPP stuff.
Even the Ratman.
Yeah, I do. I know that's kind of gross, but I mean, he's so cheap, and he does get a little bit of rushing upside. So I don't think he's like a horrible play in like a milli maker setting. Maybe not like in a 3 max, but I might put him in like a 20 max, something like that. Because I do like this overall game. So they're not quite top tier for me, but they're pretty darn close.
Did you throw teams in tiers? I'm not seeing them on the board. Did I miss it? Did TJ miss it?
Yeah, I put both in Los Polos.
All right. Los Pollos Hermanos gets both the Giants and the Saints. By the way, yeah, I did check the Cardis, the Blitz projected 139 plays and change. That is 5 more. No, hold on. My math is wrong because it's projection wise, that is 7 more plays expected than the next most. Now the efficiency might not be there, but that is of note. Bobby, now is your turn. You get a chance to tell Tim he's wrong, or you can confirm. How do you feel about the placement of the Saints and the Giants in Los Pollos Hermanos?
I'm just getting ready to lose this one because I'm not in agreement. I know Dean is a company man, so he's going to go with the blitz and the pace, all the flash words that Tim just used.
I have my own thoughts.
Like I like pieces from this game.
Yeah.
But okay, Olave is great. Maybe we'll eventually cash in the air yards. He's fine. Scatabo, I think, is okay, but he might hurt the efficiency of, let's say, Jackson Dart a little bit. Them two together is probably likely a negative correlation. Slayton and the tight end are cheap, but let's be honest, they stink. So, for me, outside, I like Slayton. I'm not playing the tight end.
What about Wandale, Bobby?
Also stinks. That's the analysis. I don't want to play Wandale.
Bobby did a deep dive.
Yeah, I kind of like Wandale.
Well, I guess the pass catchers are fine. I don't know. I don't think I'd play Scatabo with Dart, but I do like Scatabo's definitely my favorite play on this offense. It's more just he's probably the main option, I guess. Could be Slayton as a one-off. You get the deep target. I like those two guys. On the Saints side, I like Olave, but I don't want to play Kamara with Taysom Hill back. Taysom Hill also hurts Juwan Johnson. Taysom Hill will probably score a rushing touchdown. I have no interest in that. Kamara's targets are down. No way, not going there.
Do we think Hill's a full go, right out the gate? That's the
I
other
don't know
thing.
if he's a full go, but he's
it doesn't help. I hear you.
He doesn't help at all. He's going to take away from guys that I like. So it's mainly Rattler to Olave for me from the Saints side. I'm putting them both in cafe 80s. I'm not chasing the buzzwords of pace and this looks great. We're in the Coors Field of the NFL, blah, blah, blah. I'm good. Not these guys. But Saints and Giants in the cafe 80s. Put them both there. Yeah.
I actually agree with Bobby.
Thank you.
I do, despite
1-0. 1-0 coming today for you, Tim.
That's actually 2 points. You get both. You get both. Both are moving.
Where's the scoreboard here? Can we have a scoreboard?
You got to give TJ more work. He's doing all sorts of things. He's doing the Superstar Sunday. He's got the tiers board. He's got to keep up with. He's got to keep us on the air. He's got to delete all the nonsense in chat. We're getting spammed by. If you want to stream the game, I got a link for you. Yeah, so I don't think we can make that work. But the scoreboard is off air. It's 2-0, Bobby. Next game up, it is Dallas. Dallas and the Jets. 48.5 is the total. One of the bigger totals on the board. It's high and it's tight. It's 2 bad defenses, 2 of the worst defenses in football. Fields, one of the more popular quarterbacks. Prescott looks like an interesting way to be different, although he's been spectacular this year, and he's got a very, very clear and obvious number 1 option in Pickens. If you want to go kind of contrarian, Javonte Williams, who people wanted to hate this year. He's just been defying all that. He's been awesome. He's been very, very good. This is Breece Hall's backfield. Now that, very, very clear with the injuries there that it's Hall. If it's not Fields running in touchdowns, I guess Isaiah Davis will be lurking to some degree. And then Garrett Wilson is the clear and obvious pass catcher. Although I suppose you can talk about Mason Taylor, Jason's kid, if you want. But Bobby, it's your turn. You start the board, and TJ is trying to force your hand. He's way ahead of you. Where do you want to put the Dallas and the Jets?
Yeah, I get it. It's a really good game for GPPs. I like Fields. We'll put him at Jackrabbit Slims. I don't know how much I love Garrett Wilson with him. I kind of like the Breece Hall and Mason Taylor way of building it, but definitely going to be probably at the field or slightly above on Wilson. The Jets, obviously, just basically Fields, Breece, Taylor, Wilson from a projection standpoint, they're great. I do like the other side of this game with Dallas, so I agree with TJ. Basically getting to Dak with Ferguson or Pickens, maybe run back Brees, and then in that instance, I'm leaving off Garrett Wilson. But yeah, the Dallas side I think is going to be lower owned, and from a tournament perspective, they're very interesting as a team to get to. I don't want to play Jalen Tolbert though. That's not something I'm interested in. It'd be more just Ferguson, Pickens. You hit on Javonte Williams, who I think is super interesting just because of where he's priced this week. A lot of people are going to be going up, going down. They'd probably go above him. And he's like in a position where he's probably going to get squeezed, and it's a good spot for him as well. So I agree with TJ. I'm going to put both in Jackrabbit Slims.
Tim?
Yeah, I have nothing to argue with Bobby on this one.
Better
this
not.
game,
Better not.
both of these teams really are one of my favorite. You know, Jets definitely. I know they're going to be popular, but the Dallas defense is just so horrible. They give up huge plays, which we absolutely love to see in DFS. You know, this game overall is really amazing. And like Bobby pointed out, the Dallas side is really not going to be owned outside of maybe Jake Ferguson, maybe George Pickens. But if you play Dak, that's a really different way of building into a game that I think is going to be a really strong game. And both of these offenses are really condensed, so we know where the ball's going. So this is my top game of the week.
Can we get TJ's Jalen Tolbert analysis after Dean gives his spiel about which side you like? Well, I blocked you, so it's too
yeah, I agree with everybody agreeing. Like, what can I do? You guys both agree with each other.
I think the conversation about Tolbert, it's more about lineup construction. There's not a lot of wide receivers to necessarily pay up for, so you don't really like that 10 points from Tolbert. It's not going to be super valuable today. Like that mid-range at wide receiver is so strong. So on a different slate, I think Tolbert would be okay. On this particular slate, I don't love him.
I like triple stacking with Dak, and so I want to play Tolbert, Pickens, and Ferguson. And so that's one of the reasons I'm playing him. But just at 3,600, I think he's my favorite receiver in that range. If I need to play somebody there, no CeeDee Lamb, no Kevontae Turpin. They're just running out of receivers. So that's the biggest reason.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who else would be the cheap receivers if you need them today.
Malik Washington.
Huh, I know what you're doing there, TJ. How necessary? Again, the question always is like on this slate, how necessary is doing? The expectation is he's going to take over for our guy Mitchell, who just what a disaster last week. Makes an incredible catch. He had the full experience, right? He caught the ball to his elbow essentially, and then he had the holding call against the negate the 55-yard touchdown for Jonathan Taylor. And now the rumors are that like he's going to dress, but it's probably going to be Doolin ahead of him. Again, TJ, what are you expecting out of Doolin? I guess
a long touchdown.
Guess he can, okay. I mean,
if he makes the Donovan Mitchell catch and doesn't fumble it, then I'm feeling really good with my Ashton Doolin triple stacks with Daniel Jones. Like it gives me a lineup that I'm playing Daniel Jones alongside Achane and Nico Collins and Jahmyr Gibbs, and I get that with my Indy stack, and I'm feeling pretty good if all of a sudden Daniel Jones throws 3 touchdowns and one of them is to Ashton Doolin. So Doolin and Tolbert are my cheap guys this week.
So the only retort I would say, and I think this might be where our difference is, I'm guessing you're talking about large field stuff. You're talking like large field stuff. Okay, but like there's a lot of entries in those contests. Yeah. Okay. Sure. If you want to have them in your massive, I'm thinking more of like a 3-entry max single entry, not a massive, number of entries in there. It seems a little bit ambitious. But to that point,
large field only. Yeah.
Then I hear you. So I think we're having 2 different conversations. I get you. Tim, I did want to ask myself, yourself. We specialize. We like to focus mostly on the single entry stuff, and Can I give the deep dive on Ashton Doolin? Yes.
He stands.
Thank you for that. Tim, I'm a little bit concerned, single entry stuff, that Justin Fields is going to be like, I don't know, 30%. And I'm not generally too concerned about quarterback ownership. Usually it's enough guys that spread out, that kind of thing. The number can only be so high. Fields is also a guy that has a big range of outcomes. If he doesn't happen to run one in, right, there's a very real chance he has 40 yards on the ground and 140 yards passing and maybe a passing touchdown, and he's pedestrian. I don't know. Are you in? It sounds like you're in on Fields in tournaments because, of course, his ceiling is awesome. We like the environment, all the good stuff. I don't know if I love playing into big ownership in single entry, 3-entry max as far as Fields. Have you thought about this? Do you think he's going to be your guy?
I would say 95% that I'm sure he's going to be my guy in my primary team today. I'm going to be streaming against this Dallas defense all season. I understand that Justin Fields, from a throwing perspective, is probably one of the worst quarterbacks in all of football, but his rushing upside is immense. I think this game is going to be a little bit sloppy as well, and we know that just Dallas is always giving up big plays. And I think Fields will take advantage of these, chunk opportunities on the ground, and he's pretty cheap. So I'm more concerned. I want to stay away from. I'm more concerned about Garrett Wilson, I guess I'll say, because I kind of want Fields to hit a ceiling with his legs, and I don't have maybe a ton of faith in him being able to drag a wide receiver with him into optimal lineups. That's my concern. I think that, you absolutely can play Fields naked today, and just hope that he has a reasonable game on the ground.
You can also play with Hall, I think. It's a little counterproductive. I think you can play with Hall.
That's another thing, because we didn't really talk about running backs that much, but Breece Hall is my favorite running back on the week. And you're seeing a lot of you're seeing a lot of these, the optimal spitting out Dowell, Rashad White, and one of A-Chain and Taylor, and not so much Breece Hall. I mean, I know Breece Hall is going to be owned, but I'm going to be playing Breece Hall in cash games today. I think I'm going to be avoiding Garrett Wilson.
And if you have Fields, you're kind of attached to it anyway, so it's not a full fade necessarily.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move along. Next game up here in just a second. Do you want to drop the third clue? No winners just yet for Superstar Sunday. First clue, HOF. Second clue, Brown. Third clue is Wild. So that is our first three clues. Get in that Discord. Tell me what Superstar I'm talking about. Get yourself a week free of RG Premium. All right, Tim, you're up for game 3. It's the Dolphins and the Panthers. Another team, two teams that stink, but there's opportunity, right? Chuba's gone for Carolina, so Rico Dowdle is expected to, have a large majority of the touches here. Not much behind him. Trevor Etienne. We're still waiting for Tet to have a big game. I hear people talking about Bryce Young. This is like the if not now, when, right? If not now, when? If you can't get loose here against this Miami secondary, Waddle is getting a big bump because of the absence, of course, of Hill, who's never going to see the field, and he's not going to see the field for a long time, and never going to be a Dolphin ever again. That's not happening. HN looks like one of the better running backs. Of course, there's plenty of running backs to play, but if you want to delegate some salary that way, by all means. Darren Waller off the streets, man. Two touchdowns on Monday night. So shout out to him. Congratulations. I guess he was not necessarily, he came out of retirement, 33 years old. So shout out to him getting 2 touchdowns. And Tommy Tremble's another cheap tight end if you want a cheapie. Tim, it's your board though. It's Miami and Carolina. What do you want?
Yeah, I'm kind of struggling with this game. There are quite a few pieces to it, but I think that this game also has a chance of just failing. But you really can't ignore, the running backs on both these teams. There's a couple of wide receivers on Miami that we love, Waddle, and I really like Malik Washington. But it's also, do you really need a $3,900 wide receiver this week? I don't think you do. So it's kind of tough. Achane is, I think, an absolutely fantastic play. You can run it back with a Tet Bryce Young stack. I think I'm going to go Miami in Los Polos, and I'm going to go Carolina in Cafe 80s.
All right, Miami in the 2-hole, Los Pollos Hermanos, and Carolina in Cafe 80s. Bobby, what say you?
Yes. I'm going to go, where do you do? I'm pretty much in agreement with Tim. Another block move by me here. There's some good pieces with Miami, but I don't want to stack it with Tua. But Achane and Waddle, I think, are super strong. Malik Washington's one of the cheaper receivers that you can likely get to. I don't love Malik Washington, but he's there, right? If you need some salary relief. I do think the Bryce Young, what is interesting about this is I'm actually going to flip Carolina and, no, they're fine. Carolina from Bryce Young, Chuba. Adding Bryce Young to Chuba and Tet, I think, is a very interesting way to play it. The problem is you kind of – I feel like it's the game stack that a lot of people are going to go to outside of the Jets and Dallas. I think Tet is a phenomenal play in the slate. He's probably my favorite receiver outside of – well, that's not really saying much. Like Waddle's a fantastic play, but he's in that same range as all the 5K receivers where he's going to get a ton of ownership, and Tet's there too, and Tet's going to be less owned. So I think I don't want to say this, but I think Tet for me would be an interesting pivot off of Waddle if you're just not really playing Miami stacks, or you're just having Achane. You run Achane and you play a Bryce Young stack and you leave Waddle off the stack. That's kind of how I would approach it. I'm not doing the greatest job of basically breaking down what I'm saying here, but yeah, I agree with Tim. Miami and Los Pollos Hermanos and Carolina and Cafe 80s. To be honest, I really don't like this game from like a quarterback to receiver stack. It's more just pieces. And I feel like a lot of people are going to do that. So you're going to build in a lot of the buzzword is combinatorial ownership.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, right. So, it's fine. It's just fine for me. I don't love it.
By the way, the showdown slate has completely gotten goofy. Cam Akers has thrown a 32-yard touchdown pass to Josh Oliver. So
that is wow. That is impressive.
I want to see that play. I don't know what happened there, but I assume it's like a halfback option pitch. But
we had such a good play in high school where our backup quarterback, when I was in 11th grade, when I was a junior, was just like super, super fast. He was also one of our starting receivers. And so we would fake an injury for our starting running back, and he would like run off he wouldn't like kneel down, but he'd like run off the field holding his arm. And so the receiver would go in at the running back. Everyone would just think it's a backup running back, pitch it to him, and then he'd throw a 50-yard bomb. And we got that in like 4 or 5 times a season.
Did you come up with the annexation of Puerto Rico on the bench?
I don't think TJ's seen Little Giants. I guess he didn't get the reference. TJ,
I have seen Little Giants, but I didn't catch the reference. It's been a minute. I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
Oh, nothing tilts me more. Ed O'Neill is the worst defensive coordinator in the history of defensive coordinators.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad.
They're on their own 1-yard line. Just put all your defenders back at the 50-yard line, and they bite on all these fakes. And somehow they run off a 99-yard play, the Little Giants. But just the worst. Ed O'Neill should never play. He should never coach again in his life. That's it. That's a fireable offense. And he let his brother Rick Moranis beat him. But that's not neither here nor there. Okay, let's move along. Next game up, it is Houston. The Texans taking on the Ravens. I believe this is Bobby's board. It is Bobby's board. Yeah. 40.5 total. This game will be a lot more fun with Lamar, obviously. Cooper Rush is quarterbacking. Nobody's playing Cooper Rush. Nobody's playing Derrick Henry. Nobody's playing Zay Flowers. The Texans have a kind of an inept offense, but a really, really good defense. Woody Marks, it seems like he's the guy. He's every single week he's getting more and more and more, and Chubb is getting older and older. Nico Collins, awesome matchup here because the Ravens are like half their defense, if not more. If their defense is out, it's kind of just like they're getting units essentially. But CJ Stroud's another one. If not now, when? It just seems like a spot. If their line can block long enough, they should be able to get loose with Collins. But Bobby, Houston and Baltimore, what do you got?
Yeah, I have a couple good takes here, so I'm going to redeem myself for the Dolphins and Carolina Panthers. I'm going to go Texans and Los Polos Hermanos, and this is mainly for large field stuff. I love Nico Collins today. Give me all the Nico. Stroud's cheap, not going to be owned. A lot of cheap quarterbacks people are going to be vying for. Just play some CJ Stroud, Nico. Also, I like Woody Marks. Woody Marks is interesting. We have a plethora of low value running backs. I think we can work Woody Marks in a little bit here. I'm also privy to a little bit of a sprinkle of Dalton Schultz. I got some free stacks. I don't love it. Personally, it'd be Marks and Nico Collins for me, but trying to get Schultz out of there. But I think Schultz is fine just to leave in your player pool. The other thing here, and I think this is very interesting, and it's about defense. And defense is something that's usually overlooked in DFS. Texans are priced for Lamar Jackson at quarterback at $2,400. The Saints are getting 35% ownership as a D. I would bump the Texans ownership a tad or exposure a tad if you could, just because it is a value. They're underpriced.
They're going to be one of the most popular defenses for that reason. Like they just are. They're top three, I think, as far as ownership. Yeah.
And then Derrick Henry on the other side, like I don't hate it, right? Everyone's paying down. So I do think it's an interesting run back. And yeah, that's all I got. Tim, you're
did you mention Derrick Henry, Bobby?
Yeah.
He acknowledges existence.
Yeah. I just think Derrick Henry's super interesting for large field stuff, like a millie play. I'm mostly on board with Bobby here. I think I'd probably bump Houston down just one, but I do like them. I feel like this game is going to be pretty slow. I don't really necessarily like it that much, but I think that there are definitely paths that this game can take that will be optimal. And I do like getting a sprinkle of Derrick Henry in large field stuff, just because, I mean, he can, put up 102 TDs and nobody's going to play him this week. So I'm going to put Los Polos in the Cafe 80s in Baltimore and Patty's Irish Pub.
Wait, who went? You want to move Baltimore up the Patties?
Well, no, I'll leave Baltimore and Hawthorne.
He's reading Dean's reactions. He's reading Dean.
Tim does get a point. I do agree. Houston down the Cafe 80s. I like a couple individual pieces. I like Collins. I like Marks. I did make one Stroud lineup, but I don't love it. I already feel like it's going to lose. It is weird that we have all this salary and just like nobody's going to play Derrick Henry and nobody's going to play Barkley. I don't think people are playing A.J. Brown either. Just so there are some names, some players just kind of like not going to get played. Jim Chase is another one we'll talk about for Cincinnati, who just may or may not, probably not, getting played. Okay, let's scoot along to our next game. Tim's got a point. He's on the board. Bobby's got 2 points. Tim, you're setting the board here for the Raiders and the Colts. 48.5 is the total. Daniel Jones, Indiana Jones. I don't think I like Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones.
Is that an official nickname?
Yeah, it's been floated out there. Yeah, it's out there in the ether. Pittman, Downs, both look kind of sort of somewhat interesting. Mitchell, again, they're saying he's going to play, but there's reports like basically the report seems like Doolin jumped in front of him. Tyler Warren has been awesome this year. And I don't know, possibly tight end 1 for the season. We'll see. Getting carries too. Had carries in college also. It's not terribly surprising. Carries on the goal line. Raiders, we're expecting them to be down their first 2 tight ends. So Myers is going to get, in theory, a ton of balls thrown his way. Nothing official on Bowers, but he's probably out. Nothing official on Meyer that I've seen, but he's probably out as well. Gentry, of course, was the slate breaker last week, but this week looks a little bit different. And Gino's been kind of terrible all season long. Tim, Raiders, Colts.
Yeah, so it's between Jackrabbit Slims and Los Polos for me with the Colts. I'm kind of debating in my head right now. I think I'll go Colts at the top tier, just because I think there's a lot of ways to attack this game. I think you could attack this Colts offense through the passing game, just through playing Jonathan Taylor in the rush game. So I really do like Indy a ton here. They have close to a 28-point implied team total. And I think the Raiders are pretty much dust. So I think this is a game that Indy is going to dominate pretty easily. So I'm going to go Colts top tier. And Raiders, I think they're a pretty clear bottom tier for me. Like I said, I really like the Colts D and GPPs today. I think the Colts win this game pretty easily. So I'm just going to go flat Raiders in the Hawthorne tier.
Bobby, any issues?
Yeah, so the Colts for me, I'm gonna lose this one. I'll take it. I'm gonna go the Colts in Los Polos Hermanos. Just because I don't know, for whatever reason I'm running everything. I'm not getting Colts. So I don't know. Obviously, Daniel Jones, great play. Jonathan Taylor, great play. Warren, great play. Pittman, okay play. If everyone's going to play Fields, then yeah, Daniel Jones is probably the pivot. TJ mentioned Ashton Doolin. I think he's fine. I think they're all strong plays. I'm just not getting to the full stack. And if I was stacking them, I'm not getting to a ton of them as a stack, and I probably should be, but I'm just going other places. What am I trying to say here?
The issue with Indy is, can the Raiders push back? That's the me. That's the only bear case against the Colts is can the Raiders push back? And I'm kind of worried that they can't. And that's why I'm more heavily invested in this Jets Cowboys game, because I think that game will be close, and I think both teams can compete offensively, whereas I don't think the Raiders can. So that's the only thing that is shying me away from getting more exposure to the Colts.
Yeah, I agree that Tim basically said what I was trying to say. And then for the Raiders, Myers, with all the value in that mid-tier and him being an obvious cash play, he's just an X for me in large tournaments. And I'm going to Trey Tucker if I'm playing anyone from the Raiders. You're on the Dome in Indy. I think it's more the ceiling game for Tucker for $1,000 cheaper is more appealing to me than 6 catches for 80 from Jacoby Myers at that price tag with all the guys around him that I think are strong plays. So the Raiders are fine in Hawthorne, but yeah, Colts and Los Polos Hermanos and Hawthorne for the Raiders.
It's a tough call. I'm gonna have TJ call this one because I bounce him back and forth because I like the Colts. I don't know if I'm gonna fully stack them for the reasons you guys kind of laid out. But I think having a Colt in almost every lineup is fine. I don't know if I'm going to have more than one, though. Taylor should be great. Individually, I like Warren a lot. I don't mind Jones. I'm not going to double stack them, though, for the reasons I just don't think the Raiders push back. They can, maybe. But it looks like TJ is deciding that Tim was correct. I'm seeing TJ putting.
He was touting Ashton Doolin. You know what I mean?
By the way, NWI is going to outscore Doolin. If you want to a cheapie off the board, take Westbrook Akine. There you go. I don't know if that's in TJ's pool or not, but I'll take him versus Doolin straight up. Fourth clue is scrolling right now. TJ's on top of it. No winner just yet for Superstar Sunday. The fourth clue, first 3: HOF, Brown, Wild, Delta. Delta is the fourth clue. Get in that Discord. Tell me what Superstar I am talking about. By the way, you can get access now just for 3 days. You get 3-day access. You want to try the NFL DFS tools without a full season commitment. You want to just test the waters. Limited time, you get half off, 3-day NFL pass, access to everything you need to crush the slate. You get the optimizer tool, lineup HQ, all the articles, all the bells, all the whistles. You get SimLabs NFL, easiest way to build smart, competitive lineups in just a few clicks. All that for $9.99. Do not miss your chance to get a serious edge this week. We're also still running the promo for Combo Pro. NFL a la carte, I believe, is like $75, but everything else, less than $80 for your first month. Football, baseball, basketball, hockey, NBA, PGA, hockey right around the corner. I know Tim's talking about it. Tim's excited. We're less than a week away. I know Tim's excited to know that I have my my dynasty draft is tonight. I have my first 10 keepers in, Tim, and my dynasty draft is tonight. So I may be sliding in and asking Tim for some sleep.
I was going to say, I'm definitely blocking your number tonight.
That's probably a good decision. I did see we have a winner in the Discord. Shout out to LBC, a winner in the Discord. We'll talk about that later on the fourth clue. But yeah, we got it in 4. Today's superstar has been discovered. Okay, last game in the 1 o'clock window. It is Bobby, Denver, Philly. This is the game I'm most afraid of not having enough of. 44.5 total. The Eagles, there's already rumblings of, A.J. Brown doesn't seem happy. I don't know if he's reading his books these days in the sideline. Devontae Smith, they're just not getting anything, but they're still winning, dubs. But maybe that's not enough. And then Denver on the other side, I guess Franklin looks like the best dollar for dollar play. We saw kind of a coming out party for R.J. Harvey last time, but tougher sledding today potentially. Bobby, Broncos, Eagles, what do you got?
Yeah, the pace in this game is not going to be great. I'm going to go Patty's Irish Pub for both. I think as like Saquon as a tournament pivot, I think is fine. If you want to do Hurts, Devontae Smith, I think that's fine. I don't love A.J. Brown with the Surtain cover. And on the Broncos side, it's mainly like even Cortland Sutton, I think he gets a pretty bad matchup. The cornerback there is pretty good for the Eagles. So I think it would be next to Franklin and call it a day if I was doing anything. But I don't love this game at all.
All right, kind of pick up the pace here a little bit, boys. Tim, are you in agreement? Patty's Irish Pub, tier 4 for both teams. What do you got?
I'm just going to put Denver right in the Hawthorne tier. I'm fine with Philly and Patty's, but I'm just going to go Denver all the way to the bottom.
I am going to agree with you. I might play a pinch of Franklin if I need it, but I don't think I'm playing much of Denver, if at all. All right, that is the 1 o'clock games. Tim just took the lead. He's up 3-2. 4 o'clock games. Bucks, Seahawks, 44.5 is the total. No Bucky for Tampa. By the way, just as a side note, nobody's mentioned any of these Seattle. Like Kenneth Walker is a running back nobody's going to play. Start throwing that out there. Nobody's playing this guy because the situation didn't change. It doesn't mean he can't get loose. Historically, he's a guy that can break off 60-yarders. Receiver JSN, the target percentage has been outrageous this year. He certainly looks like the clear and obvious best play on the Seattle side. Home favorites versus Tampa, and then we think White's going to be the main guy for Tampa. We'll see. Stay tuned. Godwin's still really cheap, and he had a full roll last time out. Of note, if this is full Godwin, we're getting him at a pretty good price, and similar people around him that are going to be more heavily owned. I don't mind him as a pivot, but Tim, Bucks, Seahawks.
Yeah, this is a pretty tough game. I think I'm going to go Seattle and Los Polos. I do like getting to Darnold doubles. I think you can play JSN and Cup and Darnold. It's all together. So I don't think they're going to be very chalky. So I don't mind getting exposure. This whole Kenneth Walker thing and Zach Charbonnet, I don't really like Kenneth Walker today. Like, I'm not totally convinced that
nobody does.
I think running back is really, really strong today. I'm not going to be goofing around with it. If you want to do it in a couple in like a large field setting, I guess that's fine. But I'm not really convinced that he's going to get what we think he's going to get in terms of workload. So I'm more into the passing game for Seattle. And I think that obviously you can run it back with White. Egbuka is fine. I think Godwin is okay as well. So there are guys that you can run it back with. So I'm going to put Tampa Bay in the Cafe 80s tier.
Okay. So Los Pollos Hermanos has the Seahawks. Tier 3, Bobby. Cafe 80s has Tampa. Any adjustments you want to make? Thoughts?
I have no interest in Tampa. I like the Seahawks D. a little bit today, for sure. I think it's just where their salary is. It's kind of people are going down or they're going up, and the Seahawks are right at 2,800. So I don't mind getting the seat. They'll probably still be C ownership, I would imagine.
Is White not in your pool? You're saying no, just no interest in stacking Tampa?
Oh, no interest in stacking them. I'm definitely playing some Rashad White. Sorry about that.
That's fine.
Yeah, he's getting the majority of the usage.
So where would you put Tampa?
Let's put Tampa in Cafe 80s. Let's put them in Cafe, because I do like Rashad White a good bit. I'm just not interested in the Baker Mayfield stacks. Godwin, I know last week, I think he had a bunch of air yards, whatever.
He ran a bunch of routes. He was out there basically full
ran
time.
A bunch of routes, yeah. It's more just Rashad White as a play for me from the Bucs. And then I like Darnold to JSN a good bit. And I think Cooper Kupp is someone who's also that you can consider. It's more of like a single entry, small field, 3-entry max, single entry type play. But I do like the Seattle stack a good bit. So
you like him in Los Pollos Hermanos?
Yeah, they're fine in Los Pollos Hermanos.
Okay. Let's move along. There's still 3 more games to go. Bobby, Titans, Cardinals, 41.5 total. Tajay Spears expected back. Banged up but expected to play is Calvin Ridley. Probably the best piece dollar for Tennessee is Iomanor. I don't know how much you need it, but he looks like the best receiver, and you're going to get a bit of a discount here. We think Michael Carter is going to be the lead guy here for Arizona. We think DeMarcado probably more like the third down, 2-minute drill, that kind of thing. Trey McBride, of course, spectacular play at tight end if you have the salary. Kyler Murray looks pretty good from projections, but we talked about this earlier. We don't really love Kyler Murray just in general, but this does seem like a spot, big home favorite against a Tennessee team that they should have the ball against for a good bit. Their defense probably going to put them in some good spots as well to score. It's your board, though, Bobby. Titans, Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm on the Cards today. Basically just because, this late window, 405, I think majority of people would probably go to every other quarterback except Kyler Murray, and Kyler Murray projects well enough. Marvin Harrison's in that he just looks like he's terrible, but he's in that range of receiver where I think he's likely good leverage off of some of the guys that go before him, a la Jalen Waddle, for example, even though I think Jalen Waddle's a much better play. But just from the stacking perspective, I do like Kyler, Marvin Harrison. My favorite play would obviously be Trey McBride. I'm not touching the running back situation there. Reports are they're going to go with the hot hand, Michael Carter, DeMarcado. I'm just more interested in the passing game. Tennessee is going to go in Hawthorne for me. No interest in Tennessee. Pollard's there, but I would just X him out of my pool with Spears being back, and just getting any amount of carries just hurts. Pollard was great when he was getting all the usage, right? But I just want running backs.
He wasn't even good. He just was getting
good. Yeah, he wasn't even good. It's great on paper.
On paper, yeah. It's in theory.
Great on paper.
So you got Tennessee and Hawthorne, the 5-hole. I don't see the placement unless I'm missing it here. What is the placement of the Cardinals? Where do you want to put the Cardinals?
Cardinals will put them in Los Pollos Hermanos.
All right. Los Pollos Hermanos. The 2-hole here, Tim. Any issues? Any corrections? Where is Bobby wrong?
I'm not as high on the Cardinals. I think Marvin Harrison is a completely fine one-off contrarian play, but in terms of a stack here, I'm really not that interested. Can I move them down 2 tiers? Or are you only allowed to move down 1?
You can move them down 2 tiers.
I'm moving them down to Patty Irish Pub.
Are you not into this running back situation? Is it too murky for you?
It's too murky. I mean,
Yeah.
I really, I feel like Tennessee is such a bad team that they're not going to be able to push back against the Cardinals. I have so little DFS interest in this game outside of Trey McBride one-off, a Marvin Harrison one-off. I guess Io Manor as a value piece, but for Tennessee, but that's really it. In terms of any kind of stack, I don't like this game.
It's funny because I probably would put Arizona in the 3-hole in Cafe 80s, but I'll let TJ decide. I agree. Tennessee belongs in Hawthorne. TJ, where do you want to place Arizona? Do you want to move him back to Los Pollos Hermanos? Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't do that. But I gave him the power. I did. TJ agreeing with Bobby. I did agree with Tim, but I thought Tim went a little too.
I love to see it. I love to see it.
So, TJ tipping his hand here. I guess he bet Bobby today. It's a 3-3 score, by the way. The score is 3-3.
Him on the last one. I've chosen twice, and I've chosen one each.
I respect TJ.
I would have, if I had some more power, I would have been bumping Seattle down one, and I'd be bumping the Giants up one.
Well, they both agreed on Seattle. I wanted to bump them down too.
And the Bucks down.
I don't agree on Seattle either. I disagree, but whatever. It's a democracy, and they both agreed, so we'll just move on. There are 2 more games to talk about. You got Erik Beimfohr, Jordan, as well as Neil coming on in about 15 minutes or so, less than 15 minutes. And then Brit, Kristi, TJ, he'll jump behind the glass. He'll multitask. He'll give us some analysis, taking you guys all at the lock. Hit that like button, subscribe. No reason to go anywhere. Still 2 hours and change until kickoff. About 40 minutes until we get actives and inactives as well. Okay, Washington, the Commanders. The Commanders are taking on the Chargers. 47.5 is a total. Commanders are 2.5-point dogs here. No, 2.5-point favorites. Tim, the board is yours. Chargers, Commanders. Where are you going? Daniels is back.
Yeah, Daniels is back. I don't necessarily like the matchup here for any of the running backs for Washington. I don't necessarily like any of the wide receivers to go with Daniels. I guess, Debo's okay. I think I'm interested to see where he lands when we turn the cards over, in terms of ownership. I think he was getting talked a lot earlier in the week. Now it doesn't seem as much just because that pricing tier is really, really strong. So really it would just be Debo for me. I'm going to go Washington, I guess, in Cafe 80s. And then, so I think the Chargers are going to be pretty popular, and I'm just going to take an underweight stance. I'm not saying they're bad, and if you disagree, Herbert with a couple of wide receivers is obviously strong. I just think they're going to be over-owned. So for that reason, I'm going to put them in Cafe 80s. But on paper, I think they're, maybe a Los Polos deal, but just for me personally, they're Cafe 80s.
They lost another, their other dominant tackle, which seems like a big deal there for their offense on the whole. And I'm kind of with you as well. I understand why Herbert's popping. We keep trying to make Lab McConkey happen. Quentin Johnson's been spectacular. Price really got hiked up on FanDuel, but it's fully justifiable as well. Hampton, just another running back that, it's basically his backfield. And the thing with Daniels is you have the money for him, and he's a running quarterback, but he's going to have a brace on allegedly.
I was just going to ask that. Doesn't he have a brace on? Are we concerned about him at all? I normally love to play Daniels. I don't think this is a great matchup, and I'm worried about the knee. So maybe I'm a donkey for that, but I don't like this spot for him.
Debo's a little dinged, he was dinged throughout the week, and they, obviously know Scary Terry and Chris Moore is their wide receiver too, I guess. I don't know. Yep. The rookie Lane, McCaffrey, there's just nothing there. And Zach Ertz, I guess you can pair him with Zach Ertz. He can fall in the end zone a couple times. But yeah, we have both teams here in the Cafe 80s, Bobby. The score is tied 3-3, so choose wisely. Where do you want to move anything or no?
Yeah, I do want to move something, but I know I'm going to lose if I move it. I love Herbert to McConkey this week. I love it. So for me, I think the Chargers receivers, Chargers doubles, Herbert, McConkey, Herbert, Quentin Johnson. To me, they go in Los Polos Hermanos. That's where I would put them. I don't love Amari on Hampton. I know just basically with the left tackle. Isn't Mekhi Becton questionable as well?
I think he's expected to play.
He's expected to play, so
yeah, I think.
But I just think they're throwing the ball at such a high clip. I like McConkey in that salary range. I think a lot of people are going to overlook him. Quentin Johnson's shown upside. I think Keenan Allen's even in play. I like the passing game for the Chargers. I think my 3 QBs in single entry and 3 max are going to be Fields, Kyler, and Herbert.
All right. You're keeping Washington in the Cafe 80s. You're moving the Chargers up to Los Pollos Hermanos. And I'm kind of with Tim. I think
of course. Like I knew I was going to lose, but I fell on my sword to give the right take. You know.
Yeah, no, that's you know, you got to stick to your guns, man. That's your take. That's your take. And I think me and Tim, you're kind of with the field. The field likes Herbert, and they like this offense. I'm a little bit down on them. And I think they're fine. And just like Tim said, I think they're fine if you want to play them by all means. I think I'm going to play less than the field. So I'm going to agree with Tim. But Bobby, you get the last game. The last game here. Before we do that, by the way, the fifth clue, we didn't even scroll the fifth clue. We can scroll it. It's Uber. The fifth clue was Uber for Superstar Sunday. We didn't get a winner. So kind of pulled away from that for a second. HOF was the first clue. Brown, Wild, Delta, Uber. Shout out to LBC in chat who got this correct. Clue number 1, HOF, this person is a Hall of Famer. And clue number 2 and clue number 3, it sort of ties in to the theme. You know, today's board, the theme board is restaurants you want to go to, fictitious restaurants you'd like to visit. And then I was thinking, what players have like a food name, right? And so both Brown and Wild play off this person's last name because their last name is a food. The college they went to, Mississippi Valley State. Now you should know who it is. Of course, Mississippi Valley State, you guys know them as the Delta Devils. The Delta Devils. Most recently, we've seen this person in commercials for Uber Eats. Jerry Eats Rice. We're talking about Jerry Rice. And 2 different kinds of rice. Brown rice, wild rice. There you go. I was going to keep doing more different kinds of rice, like jasmine.
Delta is also a rice brand.
What is?
Delta is a brand of rice, too.
In Canada, not in America. Is that, you guys know about Delta rice? I'm unaware of Delta rice.
I don't know. I Googled Delta rice because I didn't know their team name was the Deltas, and it came up as a lot of different options.
That's funny. I didn't know that. Yeah, that's just a happy accident. Okay, last game. Bobby, it's your board. Detroit, the Lions. Biggest team total on the board by far. 11-point favorites against the Bengals. Man, if Burrow was playing this game would be really fun. Chase Brown, nobody's playing him. Jamar Chase, not getting a lot of love, but in theory, a big ceiling. Everybody in Detroit looks good. Gibbs, we know the story about Montgomery. His sister's going to be in attendance here for the first time since her accident. You got to feel like, Campbell is like the most players coach there is. They're going to do their best to get him a touchdown. I did see the number. It was like minus 180 or something like that for him to score, for him to get in the box. I think you can play both running backs in Detroit. It's not completely bonkers. But, yeah, Bobby, Lions and Bengals, where are you throwing them on the board?
Yeah, we can go Jackrabbit Slims for the Lions. Just going to be overweight on every Lions play possible. The issue is with this full stack with Jared Goff, like if we're already giving Montgomery a touchdown, how does that affect Goff? I think my favorite play from the Lions would probably be JMO, 4,700, 4,900, just under 5K. A ton of air yards last week. I just think he's a really strong play. But with that total, I mean, everyone on this team's a good play, right? I'm on Ross St. Brown, Gibbs, Montgomery. I think I'm on Raw, would come ahead of Gibbs just because I think Montgomery might eat into Gibbs, like you said. Laporta is probably a really good play as well. Going to be over on Laporta. Yeah, I love the Lions. Cincy's is going to be a little contrarian for me. If we like the Lions, we need Cincy to push back. Love Jamar Chase today. I'm fine with Browning. He's done it in the past. You've seen him have 300-yard games. He's supported both Chase and T. Higgins. I'm going to put the Bengals in Los Pollos Hermanos. Large field stuff.
I mean, this is the last game. I thought by the time we got to the last name, somebody would say Los Pollos Hermanos correctly, but no. Nobody had said it correctly. We missed for Bengals are in the 2-hole. Bobby's putting Cincinnati in the 2-hole, which I don't want to lead the witness here, Tim, but that's pretty ambitious to put the Bengals in the 2-hole.
Yeah, of course. You're going to say it's ambitious. I'm playing for large field tournaments. You're playing small field tournaments.
I'm going Bengals and Patty's Irish Pub. I'm fine with the Lions. I'm fine with the Lions as top tier. The Lions are definitely
whatever.
Definitely, Lions are definitely top tier.
It's like you were taking a dive there, Bobby. Like you knew that was the wrong decision.
No, because I'm not from a large field tournament perspective. I don't mind Browning. We all love the Lions.
Wait, you're playing Browning as your quarterback. Like
I'm going to play Browning I'm going to have exposure to Browning in my 150. Yes.
Okay, like 3%, which is more than the field. Like you're going to have more like a bigger stake.
What's the field at? I'll be 2x.
1%. So 2%.
3%. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like Jamar Chase, and that's basically it in Cincinnati. So I cannot agree with the stack. I just think there's so many other places. Like, what does Browning have to do? I guess in theory, their secondary in Detroit is kind of be vulnerable to some degree.
Oh, it's in Cincinnati. Yeah.
We're just learning that.
It's going to be more beneficial to Browning.
I guess. Yeah. The home crowd gets to boo him in person as opposed to screaming at the TV. So it goes without saying, I agree with Tim. Tim wins again. He wins 5-3. He beat the spread. I don't know if you know, Tim was minus 1.5 points. So that had him beating the spread. That's like a block kick run back to beat the spread at the buzzer, basically. Let's recap the board. Again, if you guys are joining us late, fictitious restaurants or in TV shows and films that we want to visit. Jackrabbit Slims, of course, from Pulp Fiction. 4 teams. That's the Jets. Their opponent, Dallas, Indianapolis, the Lions, Los Pollos Hermanos, tier number 2. Excellent chicken. Miami, Seattle, Phoenix. That's tier number 2. The most popular tier. We're riding the fence here. Back to the Future 2, Cafe 80s. It's the Saints, the Giants, Houston, Carolina, Tampa, Chargers, Washington. Tier 4, Patty's Irish Pub. Like good people watching. Probably not going to get a good drink. Probably not going to get great service, but it'll be entertaining outside of the food and beverage. That's the Bengals and Philadelphia. In tier 5, you've seen the menu. You probably do not want to go to Hawthorne, the restaurant from the menu. It's Baltimore, the Raiders, Denver, Tennessee. All right. Next group's coming in here in just a second before we step aside and get out of here and make way. Tim, I need like a hot take. I need your favorite stack. We gotta finish strong here. Who's bringing home the bacon? Who's getting on the money? Who's for sure going to be on GPP winning lineups?
Yeah, so definitely the Jets are obviously my top stack, but if you're looking for somebody a little bit more contrarian, I do like the Seahawks quite a bit. I don't mind. I think Cooper Kupp is really, really interesting in GPPs today. And you can use him as a pivot off of JSN, or you can use him part of a Darnold double. So I think Cooper Kupp is super interesting. But, and then one other chalky guy that I absolutely love is Breece Hall. Like, he's going to be in all my teams, cash, GPP, 3 max, single entry. He's going to be my guy today. So I know he's popular, but I absolutely love Breece Hall.
I, too, love the Breece Hall call. Bobby, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go Nico Collins. Baltimore secondary is banged up. I think Nico's a phenomenal play today. Way to get different. If you're getting off Jackson Smith and Jigba, guy like Nico or Chase, I think those guys are very interesting guys to look to on today's slate.
Are you forcing a run back if you're playing Collins? I like Collins too. I don't know if I like anybody in Baltimore.
I don't think you have to, but like in large field stuff, I don't mind Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Like, people aren't going to play Derrick Henry today. It doesn't make sense.
No. Yeah. Is there a player or like a stack or a game, Bobby, that you're just going to be most under the field on, and just we'll see how it goes?
Currently the Colts, but that could change prior to lock. I think I'm under on Daniel Jones.
Yeah, you were talking about Waddle as well earlier too as a potential. Were you saying no? You were saying Myers was an X out, right?
Yeah, Myers I think might be a full fade for me in large field tournaments. I'll leave him in small field, and if he hits, he hits. But I don't really see that range is loaded. Why are we going to play chalk Jacoby Myers?
Yeah, he's going to get a bunch of balls thrown his way, but I understand the reasoning why he's projecting well. Yeah.
He scored 42 fantasy points 2 weeks ago.
Well, yeah, but how many of those points did you get today? Tim, before we slide in and talk to the GPP Final Takes, how about yourself? Is there, and you make less lineups, so it's even tougher calls. Is there a player? Is there a stack that you're most afraid of not having?
It's got to be. It's got to be the Chargers easily.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you too, and I'm already uncomfortable about it. We'll see how it goes, but let's do it. Let's go ahead. Let's seamlessly segue. What do you got to Bobby?
Herbert to McConkey.
I think just play Johnston again. Like, I understand salary is a thing, but like, why we keep trying to make a McConkey happen when Johnston's right there?
I can play a double.
Yeah, I guess you can do that too. Okay, let's go ahead and do it. Let's see what you talk to Neil and Jordan as well as Beimfohr. It is the GPP Final Takes group right now. All right, what's up? Welcome to week 5. Shout out to you, Erik. I didn't realize. I guess it was like 2 weeks ago. I didn't realize a couple weeks ago. Shout out.
I believe you did too. I heard a little birdie said you had a good day a couple of weeks ago as well.
I mean, by comparison, it's not even worth acknowledging. Yeah, you took that 50K. I did all right. I had a good week for sure. But yeah, congratulations to you. Jordan, back on the Carolina Panthers. We're doing it again.
Yeah, the funny thing about the Panthers is I have a McCaffrey jersey, Luke Kuechly, and Cam. And the moment I bought all 3, they no longer played for the team the next year. So I stopped buying jerseys. This is like one of the last jerseys I will buy as a Panthers fan.
Maybe you should buy a Bryce Young jersey.
That might be a good lot.
That's the play. It's worth $100 investment, right? I would imagine so.
That is true.
Oh, a Sam Bradford jersey. Look at that.
That's the real winner right there. Sammy Steve. I bought it and the team left the city after I bought Sam
That
jersey.
is terrible.
Is there no trade-in? Like sometimes they offer you like a trade-in if a player goes nothing. It's like,
not when the player's that bad.
The shop's closed. Yeah.
Goodwill didn't even take it. They were like, just go ahead and keep that one.
We're good. We appreciate it. All right. Tim, Bobby, anything else for the road? We're good, right? We're stepping aside. We're getting out of here. All right. That was Tim. That was Bobby. I was Dean. Hit that like button. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. Do not go anywhere. Still 2 hours. Nonstop NFL DFS conversation taking you all the way up the lock. Beimfohr, take it away.
Yeah, shout out to the People Show. Shout out to the chat. I agree with Melch there. The key is to buy. I only buy jerseys of players who are no longer active. So that's why you see a Darius Miles jersey. We got throwback jerseys. We don't mush our teams, our players, our franchises in our city, and hopefully we won't mush our favorite plays today because this is GPP Final Takes. If you haven't joined us before, we're going to talk about all the most kind of notable things to discuss for the tournament slate. If you have questions, including cash game questions, you can, of course, drop them in the chat. We will answer as many of them as we can, but we're going to try to hit on all the final takes that you need to have and understand to make your tournament lineups heading into week 5. We always try to get a little like high level overview. And Neil, I think my high level overview is different from what the field is thinking based on like some of the ownership things I'm thinking. I'm less enthused about some of the Rico Dowdles, the Rashad Whites, the even the Woody Markses, right? I'm a little less enthused. It's not that they're bad plays because they're not, but I'm just a little less enthused about some of those spots and maybe some of the others. I think it's a wide open slate. It's almost to play whoever you want. You can fit just about anything into your lineups. How are you thinking about this slate right as you open it up? Like, where are you starting?
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page as you in that I like Rico Dowdle. I'm going to be playing a fair amount of Rico Dowdle. Like he actually is a player I like quite a bit. But like there's just so many players that I like on this slate. I feel like a lot of people are talking about it like this is a gross slate. I don't like anything, and I'm like there's too much that I like at running back, and then also from a stack standpoint. I think that like the starting point is what are we doing with Cincinnati, Detroit, and that's one that Jared Goff not projected for a ton of ownership, so it's looking like it's going to be under-owned. Except everybody's talking about it. Every show that I've been on, people have brought it up, myself included, obviously, and then every show or just about every show I've consumed is like, yeah, Jared Goff is like the clear, obvious play. So at some point, like that ownership probably does flip. And then of course you've got the David Montgomery narrative that everybody's talking about, kind of the same thing where it's like, okay, he's projected for, 2% ownership most places. And then literally every show is talking about the David Montgomery going back to Cincinnati narrative and how he's guaranteed to score a touchdown. So if the ownership is real, particularly on the Lions, then it's like the Lions are an absolute slam spot. But I'm not sure if I buy the ownership. So I think that is, to me, like the starting place is just like how real is the Lions projected ownership, and do we care? Like, are they just too good to not put up a ton of fantasy points today? So do we just play them anyway, even if it is going to be both Goff and Montgomery end up at 15% ownership?
I love that, because that was part of when I opened up this slate on Monday or Tuesday or whatever it was, and I saw the Lions and I saw Cincinnati, and then the old Google machine tells you about the David Montgomery thing. And having watched the Bengals, Jordan, I was like, yeah, this is where I'm starting with this slate. We can get to the injury stuff, the Bucky injury, right? We can get to the Chuba injury. We can get to all of that. But like Neil said, do we even care? Right. If this ownership is real, I agree that the projected ownership everywhere is really low on a team that I laddered their team total up to like 50. Like, I think that they could score about as many points as they want to today. It's not that easy to pick which guy. Of course, we have this fun narrative, but it's still not that easy to pick which guy or guys on the Lions. Is this where you kind of start your slate? Is this team that we expect to score a ton of points that projects for low ownership? And again, how real is it? And do you care?
So with Dave Montgomery's ownership, I don't think his ownership is going to be that low, just because of all the people talking about it. The way that I'm going about this game is I don't know if Goff they're going to throw the ball in the red zone, because when you're bringing in David Montgomery to have this narrative and special moment, because like Dan Campbell's that coach, that's what they do.
Can you tell everybody what? So he's from Cincinnati, but it's also not even just the fact that he's from Cincinnati. He's been in the NFL for a long time. He's never played in Cincinnati, which seems insane to me, given how long of a career he has. But there's also kind of another little special moment today. Yeah,
that his sister obviously had a tragedy in February where she got paralyzed in a car accident, and this is going to be her first game seeing him since. So it's like he's going to have a spot where, like, I think I've already took him to have 2+ touchdowns. And Neil, I feel like you talk about it every week, where you're going to play David Montgomery every week for GPPs because he's eventually going to score 2+ touchdowns. It feels like one of those slates that it's like, oh, it's obvious. And the one thing that his ownership is going to be super interesting is with all the running back injuries and the ideas of, like, Breece Hall, 5,600. He's going to get all the snaps. Like, I'm interested to see it so much because of, like, game theory, where you have Rachaad White, Rico Dowdle, Michael Carter, like all these guys that are now, they're going to take the role. And it's like Dave Montgomery is in the same exact role he's been in for 5 weeks. It's not better than these guys perceived, and he's going to be low. But the way I'm playing David Montgomery is I'm playing Jamar Chase. Like, there's nobody that's going to be able to convince me off of Jamar Chase this weekend. He's low owned, one. I understand Jake Browning's playing quarterback, but call me crazy. The Broncos defense, the Vikings defense on the road for both of those games are very different opponents than the Detroit Lions without their top corner. I love Jerry Jeudy last week. He had 48 yards on the first drive, and then the Lions were like, no.
I was
no
almost
more.
messaging you like, oh my gosh, where are you spending your money, right? Have you started shopping on that first drive?
DJ Reed ended up flipping because they had Tyrion Arnold on Jeudy, and then DJ Reed traveled the rest of the game, and Jeudy did not catch another pass the whole game because he couldn't get open. Now DJ Reed's out for the IR. You have Tyrion Arnold, and they're also, I think Kirby Joseph was on the injury report as well this week. It's like, I get Jamar Chase is a guy that has underperformed, and it's so frustrating. He doesn't need much to win in this particular matchup. And I know Detroit's had this, a lot of sacks this year. Their time to pressure is one of the lowest in football. A lot of quarterbacks hold the ball against them, and that's what leads to them getting sacks. Jake Browning's just been getting hit as soon as he snaps the ball. So I think Jamar Chase and Dave Montgomery is the way I want to play that game. But the rest of the slate's so interesting because of how fragile I think a lot of these ownership is. Like, it's probably the best slate to fade chalk, in my opinion, because there's a lot of chalk that's chalk because of perception and not necessarily reality.
I love that. And I would also say that even if the chalk is, various levels of chalk are good plays, right? Like air quotes, good plays. There are guys that we'll get to over the course of the next hour who, like, I don't know, how different are they really than this, right? How different are other 5K range guys than Jacoby Myers, right? How different is Nico Collins from Jackson Smith and Jigba? How different is Jamar Chase from Jackson Smith and Jigba? How different are whoever from Deebo Samuel from George Pickens or whatever, right? I'm just throwing stuff at the wall. But that's the David Montgomery case at running back, is like, yes, Rico Dowdle and these guys are stepping into more work than they had before. But think about it, just like, if the Lions just hit their team total, don't go over, it's over 30 points. These other teams are in the teens, right? They're scoring team. So even if you consume a larger chunk of this very small pie of the Carolina Panthers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and all that kind of stuff, the Lions pie is so big that there's like multiple guys can get there by having a smaller chunk of it, right? We see this with the Lions specifically very frequently. I don't want to make this all about the Lions, but that's just kind of how I'm thinking about why the Lions are so impactful. But we should talk about all of these running backs, because I do think there's a lot, Neil. Talking through the injuries. So Jordan even mentioned Breece Hall. He's technically impacted by an injury as well. Yeah. Braylon Allen, suffered a serious knee injury. We kind of like Isaiah Davis is going to like do something, but how much? Your guess is as good as mine. That's actually how I feel about all these kind of chalky running backs. Greg, oh my gosh, the Tampa Bay Bucks beat writer, I just wanted to put this out there, said he projected something like a 65-35 split in favor of Rachaad White, but also mentioned something about like Rashad's going to get the pass game stuff because that's what he does. But like Sean Tucker could like get hot running the football. He's a better runner than Rachaad White is. And so there's a little bit of variance there. That's where I'm kind of starting with all these running backs, is that they all look good. They're stepping into more opportunity, but which ones are the ones you feel the best about, right? That they're not going to get boogeymaned by Sean Tucker or by Isaiah Davis or whoever.
Yeah, and you always have to consider opportunity cost. So, like, even if Rico Dowdle puts up 13 fantasy points at 4,300, like, yeah, really strong point per dollar play. But I think the whole conversation with running backs, I mean, like, you could start with the injuries, but also you just have a clear top tier to me. That's Devin Achane, Jonathan Taylor, and Jahmyr Gibbs are kind of in a tier of their own in terms of projection. Like, they beat out the Saquons and the rest of the top tier running backs. So anytime you're playing a Rachaad White or a Rico Dowdle, you're not playing one of those guys in your lineup, and there is a lot of opportunity cost there. So this is a slate where, I often like RB2s on certain slates. Like a Sean Tucker on a lot of slates would be a guy that, yeah, maybe I have some interest in, but here there's just too much opportunity cost. Like we have too many players that he would need to beat out for that to be viable, and it's not a great matchup. So this is a slate where I think you're kind of just playing the best plays at running back. I don't really think you need to be getting too different. So to me, that would be going to be playing a lot of Devin Achane, a lot of Jonathan Taylor, and a bit of Jahmyr Gibbs also. And then you drop down to so I don't think I'm going to be playing a ton of let's see, Saquon is up there in terms of salary. Derrick Henry, a little bit tough for me to be enthusiastic about, although I've heard the case that maybe against a smaller defense, even though they're really good, maybe he just bullies them. But I don't think I'm going to get to a ton of Genty. Honestly, the chalk that I think I'm fading is Omarion Hampton. I just think that I'm going to be leaning into that passing game. I think that offensive line is so beat up, and Hampton, we haven't really seen him excel against anybody except for the Giants, who are just really bad defensively. So to me, that's a spot that's a pretty easy to get away from. So I'm kind of like leaning into those top three running backs. And then I do like Breece Hall quite a bit at 5,600. So kind of a gap down for me to the Breece Hall range. I'll play a little bit of Rachaad White, but he's a little bit chalky. I prefer Rico Dowdle. I think it's a better matchup for Dowdle. He's a little bit cheaper, but I think both are like totally fine plays. I guess I skipped over Javonte Williams. I think is a pretty strong play as well at 6,200. Just an awesome role. Actually looks pretty good this week. Alvin Kamara, a guy that I had a lot of interest in, and now we get Taysom Hill back, and now I'm a little bit scared of that one. But it's such a great matchup. Again, the one spot where Omarion Hampton had a great game was against the Giants. They've just allowed huge running games every week. So even if Alvin Kamara is dust, I think there's a chance that he can get it done against the Giants just because of this matchup. And then of course, yeah, David Montgomery, I'm playing it. I'm actually going to lean into it a little bit and hope that ownership doesn't get there. Michael Carter, I think if I'm playing anybody from the Cardinals, I think it would be Michael Carter, but I'm not super enthusiastic about that situation. So those are kind of my the group of running backs that I think I'll be playing.
It's a really strong pool, Jordan.
Woody Marks, sorry.
And yeah. Shout out TJ Woody Marks season. It is funny because Neil mentioned, sometimes we'll play like some kind of risky-ish backs, right? Like you play a Tyler Algier, right? Pricing's really tough. You can play a Tyler Algier. He's going to get his 10 or 12 touches. You pray for, right, some good luck, some injury luck, what have you. Sometimes we even play RB3s like Travion Henderson on many slates, which I continue. Thank God the Patriots are not on this slate. At least we wouldn't have to consider him. And then he's probably going to have a big game tonight. So bet the overs on Travion Henderson, play him in showdown. But how are you thinking about these running backs? I also wanted to make sure we touch on Breece Hall because the Jets are certainly popping. The pricing is quite bad on the Jets, like across the board. And that Cowboys defense has been is like the defensive side of the Lions off, right? The Lions offense, like we know they're going to score a whole bunch of points. The Cowboys are like, we know they're going to give up a bunch of points. So how are you thinking about the Jets as it relates to Breece and then the overall running back position?
So as far as the Jets and Cowboys matchup, I think it's one of the more intriguing thought processes through the conversation of how does this kind of fail? And I get the Cowboys play a ton of zone coverage, but what that means is all their eyes are on the quarterback. Justin Fields is someone that doesn't necessarily read defenses quite that well. It's like it kind of is a battle of just two very bad things going at each other. And I think the Cowboys are going to stop the run. That's one area of the field that like they've actually been able to do for the most part. Like Jalen Hurts had some rushing, like in week 1. Saquon did well, but Saquon wasn't that good. And then this past weekend, Josh Jacobs wasn't this world beater on the Green Bay Packers side of things. And I think the field, like a chalky Breece Hall to me, yes, the role is good. But who's to say, like, oh, Breece takes more of the early down work, and then all of a sudden Isaiah Davis gets more involved as the pass down to give him that, like, leeway as, like, oh, this is his break. Because with Braylon Allen, it was like, oh, we can put Braylon Allen inside the 20s, let Breece Hall not take the punishment inside the goal line and red zone area, and then put in, Breece when it's passing downs. It's kind of that area of the field. And then, like, with Carolina Panthers, I know Rico Dowdle is proven. And he ran for 1,000 yards last year against the Cowboys with the Cowboys offensive line. Why can't Trevor Etienne get work? Like to me, it's one of those processes where we drafted him in the 4th or 5th with Rico Dowdle on the roster, and he's actually looked pretty explosive so far as a runner. I don't know. Like to me, I think the Rico Dowdle and Trevor Etienne split has a chance to be similar to the Rachaad White and Sean Tucker split, which makes Trevor Etienne like not a player in GPPs, but it makes me like lower on Dowdle. And the other thing with all these cheap running backs is who are you paying up for? That is the part of this week that I've just been stuck on, where it's like, we don't have Josh Allen. We have Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels, but if you watch the video of Jaden Daniels, I'm not touching that. That is a scary, scary situation. I'm not touching Jalen Hurts because they don't care about football right now. They just want to win games 13-3. Like they're not trying to be. They're like the Chiefs last year. That's the way I've been describing this team. Like they're just going out there to try to win just by the slim margin. They don't want to be the team that blows teams out. You have Jared Goff against the Bengals, but with the narrative of Montgomery, it's tough to see his ceiling, and it's like, oh, then now we're all sitting here in these 5K quarterbacks or barely 6K. Like it's just a range of the field where that's why I'm in love with like Jamar Chase and Nico Collins, where it kind of comes into the aspect of they're low-owned studs that are people you'd pay up for with these cheap running backs. And they have the ability to have the explosive game. And grossly, I like CJ Stroud this week. It is a very gross thing to say, but he looked much better this past week. He averaged 8 yards per attempt. And Baltimore Ravens defense is absolutely depleted, and nobody cares. like CJ Stroud actually had a 2-touchdown game, averaged 8 yards per attempt. Everybody likes Woody Marks a little bit. You could play Stroud, Woody Marks, and Nico Collins, and just they blow out the Ravens. Like it's a weird slate where it's like I feel like the chalk is very put to guys that like could fail, and I don't know if I'm just overthinking it or just don't see the reason the chalk's so popular.
Neil, what do you think about those Jets? Because, I just pull up ownership, right? And Justin Fields projects to be the highest owned quarterback. Breece Hall is in the top, depending upon where you look, 2, 3, 4, 5 ownership at running back. I wouldn't be surprised if even it's the projected ownership is light on Breece Hall. I mean, he's $5,600 against the Cowboys. Like, I agree with everything that Jordan said, but like, he's $5,600 without Braylon Allen against the Cowboys, and Garrett Wilson, right, is near the top as well. So we all see, it's kind of like the Lions thing. We all see it. We all know that the Cowboys give up a whole bunch of points, but how are you attacking, these Jets? Are you playing them all together, or do you have a specific plan of attack?
Yeah, and I've been attacking the Cowboys every week. I think that it's generally a good strategy, but I think Jordan laid out the exact reason that I think I'm going to be a little bit light there on the Jets in general, just because, again, there are so many other spots that I really like. So if everybody's going to be leaning one way, I'm just going to let it crush me, and I'll have some of the Jets. Don't get me wrong, I will be playing some Justin Fields stacks. You don't want to risk everything there, but I'll certainly be under the field there, lean into some other spots. Because again, there are a lot of, I think, pretty good, like, wide range of outcome spots on this slate. So when that is the case, I like to lean into the spots that nobody else is playing and benefit from the chaos a little bit. So I think I'll be under the field on all of Justin Fields, Breece Hall, and Garrett Wilson. I'll be probably double digits on Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. I don't know that I'll get there with Justin Fields, but I also think you can play, and I don't know if we're going to talk about different positions, but Mason Taylor, I think, is actually a pretty strong play because he's not getting much ownership. He's in that same game environment. And they keep talking about, like, I don't know if you've been following the coach speaks there. They keep on being like, oh, we need to get Mason Taylor and Breece Hall the ball more often. Like that's been like repeated quotes from the coach, Mason Taylor and Breece Hall. It's like those are the two guys that you consider to be your playmakers who are not getting the ball enough. That's pretty bullish for Mason Taylor. If we think Justin Fields can find his second read, it sounds like it might be Mason Taylor there. So I kind of like Mason Taylor a bit of the Jets, but then also the other side of the game, again, Javonte is getting some ownership, but he's not being crazy overplayed. So I like Javonte there. Pickens is a little bit chalky, but I think is okay. Not somebody, again, that I think I'll be overweight to the field, but I think he's fine. And then Jake Ferguson looks great. Just his usage is pretty awesome without CeeDee Lamb there. So I think he's actually a pretty strong play. And Dak being kind of contrarian, I like that side of the game, I think, a little bit better.
I like the Dak side a lot as well. Jordan, I know you had, we got to get in the weeds a little bit, but Kevontae Turpin is out. And that was a guy that I know that you liked a little bit as a kind of a long shot tournament punt against this. By the way, this Jets defense, we're talking about how bad the Cowboys defense is, and it's bad. It's very, very bad. It's kind of, by any metric, the worst defense in all of football through the first 4 weeks. By the way, from an EPA per play perspective, the Dolphins are second worst, but third worst is the Jets. The Jets have been the third worst defense in all of football through the first month, which seems crazy with some of the talent that they have. But I know you like Turpin for like a specific reason. Obviously, he's out. Yeah, B's loading. Does it make you interested in Jalen Tolbert? Can he do the same? Or Ryan Flanoy? Anyone like that? Or are you kind of now consolidating around their big three-ish on Dallas?
I would probably consolidate on the big three. Like, so if you go and just watch the highlights of the Miami Dolphins Jets game, you will see one simple play that worked every single time Miami ran it. And it was just a bootleg off a stretch play and just having a receiver run across the line of scrimmage or a little bit deeper. Tyreek Hill had a big play off it. Jalen Waddle had a big play off it. Darren Waller did. Like, anytime they ran it, it worked. And I wanted Turpin because of him being so explosive. And they actually ran that, I believe, against the Bears on one of the early openers. And he had a nice play off of it as well. So it's like, without him being in the lineup, I don't think they quite have the speed. Like, Tolbert's fine. I mean, he's 3,600. You can't really go wrong with it. But do we really need to play a 3,600 Jalen Tolbert this week? And I don't really see that need. So, I mean, Pickens, and also, like I said, Darren Waller did it well. Jake Ferguson is a very capable player off that bootleg action. Pickens is the one that I'm struggling with this week, just because I think if you're Aaron Glenn, You're putting Sauce with a safety over the top. You're telling Sauce, hey, be as aggressive as you want. We got your help over the top in making anybody on the Cowboys else beat them. And I do like Neil's call of Javonte Williams. That makes me more inclined for him, just because the Cowboys offensive line is probably the best in football, and they're not even healthy. It's really insane how good they have been this year. I don't know how you guys saw that line or Packers Cowboys game, but I was astonished watching. The Packers talked about going undefeated 2 weeks ago, and then they lost to the Jets and tied with the Cowboys. Like, what are we doing out here? But I guess if they played Max Brosmer every week, maybe they'll have a chance.
Yeah, seriously. Jordan Mason touchdown. Yes. Let's hit some questions and then get into some of these other quarterbacks and kind of stacks that we haven't talked about. Obviously, a lot of emphasis on it's necessary, right? The Jets and that Cowboys game is super important, as are, I think, the Lions. So we'll talk about some more quarterbacks, but I want to, they lost to the Browns, not the Jets. Jets are just top of mind. Let's see. We got a lot of questions here. First of all, why do the Giants hate Jalen Hyatt? I think Jalen Hyatt hates Jalen Hyatt right about now. Let's see. This is a good one. Jordan, you like Jamar Chase, and call it $8,000 for Jamar Chase. That would be a heck of a player. Jordan Chase. How does Jamar Chase win you a tournament? Says DHD without 4.9K Jacob. What's his name? Browning getting there. How does Browning not smash in tournaments if Jamar Chase does is the question.
So Browning doesn't. Oh, first off, Jamar Chase can have 125 and 2 without Jake Browning getting over 300 yards passing. Like he is very capable of doing such a thing. But the main thing is the reason that I don't think Jake Browning gets there for tournaments is you have a 5'6" Justin Fields that is going to run. I know I don't love him, but it's very easy to see him not getting there. And it's going to be gross, but I do like Bryce Young a lot today. Like, Dolphins are giving up 6 yards of play. Like I know how bad the Panthers have been. I am a Panthers fan. I watch it every week. But you're in a spot where like Bryce Young runs first. Like he actually does use his legs at times. This is a game where the Dolphins can't get pressure. They blitz a ton. And the Panthers, it's like we have one really good receiver, and then we're also the other person I think it's going to be really interesting for the Panthers offense. Jimmy Horn's going to be activated this week and play. He's a receiver that gives us like a deep shot and deep ability. So I'm really intrigued to see like these types of quarterbacks this week. I don't want to play Jake Browning because I don't think he's going to be excellent in GPPs. I think like you have Fields who can run. I think Bryce Young will run this week. Daniel Jones against cover 3 is averaging over 10 yards per attempt. The Raiders are second or third in cover 3 usage this entire season. You have Justin Herbert against Commanders. Like they're going to throw. I think they're going to throw the ball almost every play. Like the Commanders, if you watch their corners, they have the slowest cornerback room in the entire NFL. Drake London was consistently separating with speed. That is not something you want to hear from your cornerback room. So there's a lot of other quarterbacks I think just put a bigger numbers on him.
I like it. Speaking of those quarterbacks, you kind of hinted at Jordan kind of hinted at Justin Herbert. Neil, we talked a little bit about that situation. Obviously, Rashawn Slater got hurt over the summer, their superstar left tackle. But part of the reason why last week went south is because Joe Alt then also got hurt. So we're losing 2 bookend superstar offensive linemen for that Chargers offense. They did still throw a lot, but they didn't have as much success against the Giants. Aren't you worried? Yes, I'm sure you're worried. But like how much is that impacting your kind of Chargers level take with the offensive line injuries?
Yeah, so I'm super worried because I'm playing a ton of that passing game. And Mekhi Becton also, maybe inactives. Is that, I forget if that is a noon game or a late. I think it's a later
afternoon
game. So we won't know that part until later. I think Mekhi Becton still questionable, but yeah, the offensive line obviously not great for the Chargers. But I still am playing it again. I think that's scaring me off of Omari and Hampton. My hope is that it's just going to be Justin Herbert getting the ball out quicker. And this has already been kind of a slot funnel, which really benefits Ladd McConkey and Keenan Allen. So with those guys being a little bit lower owned. Yeah, I think you can play QJ also, but I really like all three of the receivers. We've just seen this defense get absolutely crushed by passing games. Tucker Kraft, I mean, everybody was like, is he the best tight end in the NFL after that game? And he hasn't really done a ton outside
So
of
it's
that
Tyler
game.
Conklin. It's finally Tyler Conklin time, is what you're telling me.
It could be.
Yeah,
I'm kidding, but
Trey Tucker put up 40 fantasy points against this defense, and then the Falcons last week. So yeah, Jordan kind of laid it out. This is maybe my favorite spot of the week as far as quarterbacks I'll be playing. It has gotten chalkier throughout the week, which has been kind of a bummer, because I was like, early in the week I looked at it, I was like, yeah, this is the spot that I want to attack. Like, this Chargers offense, like one of the highest passing rates in, maybe the highest in the NFL, against the biggest pass funnel defense. Like, give me all of the Chargers, and they're getting some ownership now, but it's not enough to scare me off, and I'll just play it, you know, every which way. We got three different receivers that honestly all look great to me, because it's a better spot for Keenan Allen and Ladd McConkey, but also QJ just seems to be legit. So I don't think any of them get especially steamed, because there are three of them, and it's like, I don't know how to play this one. People aren't going to want to play it a ton, so I'm going to lean in and play a ton of the Chargers passing game.
I'm annoyed. The Ravens inactive?
No.
Ronnie Stanley inactive. They're starting left tackle. I did want to pop in and ask, just because like we already have our first question about it, and it's a tough thing to do, but if you could you rank the three Chargers receivers for if you're only playing one, or if you're doing a double stack, who would be the two you're choosing? I think for me, it's QJ, then Ladd.
Exactly what I was going to ask. Neil, you go first.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to go contrarian and skip QJ and just go straight to Ladd and Keenan Allen, because I think that they are the two that are more likely to come in under owned. I think QJ has been doing it so much, and I could be totally wrong. You never really know with DFS players in 2025, especially. Like, people are not box score chasing nearly as much, but I think QJ gets the most ownership, and it's more of a funnel to the others. So I think I'm actually going to be having more of Ladd and Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen especially is the one that I wouldn't be surprised if he actually comes in at single digit ownership. I'd be pretty surprised actually if Ladd or QJ do, just because people have been talking about Ladd quite a bit. So it kind of seems like just like trying to read the room. I think everybody kind of sees it as like, Ladd's going to blow up at some point. This seems like the spot for Ladd to blow up. So I suspect it's going to be, in terms of ownership, QJ, then Ladd, then Keenan Allen. So I'm gonna lean away from ownership and play it through Ladd and Keenan Allen. But honestly, I'm going to have a ton of all three.
The Will Fuller game is what it feels like to me. I don't know if I'm dating myself, but if anyone was playing DFS back then, this is Will Fuller on the Texans with Deshaun Watson. This is when people did box score chase a lot more, and this is when we learned that people aren't doing it right. It's like, oh wow, everybody's a lot smarter now. Will Fuller put up the old bagel, and had been doing nothing, right? And we were all excited for him. This was DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, Deshaun Watson, blah 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 blah. Will Fuller's like, I can't believe I remember this, but I'm almost positive he's like 4,900 on DraftKings. And everybody, just like Neil said, all week, all of us are like, I think he's the tournament play, right? He came in at like 25% owned because people are like, yeah, the spot. It's like, come on, it's Will Fuller. Just because he had a bad game doesn't matter. And is when we started to realize that that's the case. That was my disappointment with this whole situation. As I came in, same thing as Neil. Jordan, I was like, this feels like a great spot to finally get a bounce back from Ladd, even with the offensive line injuries. But the field is also on these Chargers. How are you approaching the three Chargers receivers?
So it's like the way I'm thinking about it is more of football in the sense of Joe Alt's out. You don't have your Rashawn Slater. He's been out for the year, obviously. Mekhi Becton, I think, posted a Joker meme this morning. So I think
I was just looking. Yeah,
I was like, I'm pretty sure he's going to play, just because when he posts that, he usually goes out there. But it's really funny that we have to do that in 2025. But with the Chargers, like, you don't have time to search for deep shots. And I think Harbaugh recognizes that, because last week they chased it a ton. And the Giants defense line is disgusting. Like, I know that their defense is bad and they're bad at stopping the run, but their defensive line was destroying that Chargers O-line, and they had no time to throw. And it's because they're a bunch of studs. With the Commanders, they've had a pretty good pass rush and different things. They just don't defend the deep ball. But it's like, if you can kind of get there early, I think the Chargers game plan has to be the slot funnel like Neil's talking about, and they have to chase Yak. And Quentin Johnson can do a drag route and take it, But I think like methodically, Ladd and Keenan are just going to eat in middle of the field quickly, win quickly. And like Ladd's metrics are still really good. He just, for whatever reason, him and Herbert are off. It's unfortunate. I hate saying that I don't want to play Quentin Johnson because every time I've said it, it's been bad. But it's just one of those weeks where do they have enough time for Quentin Johnson to catch that deep ball? And I don't think they're going to. And I think their game plan is going to be built around just throwing it over the middle of the field.
I have found it really impressive, the leap that he has taken. I mean, from
Good
laughing,
coaching.
right? Yeah, the laughing stock of his draft class for 2 years into like it nothing about it looks fluky, feels fluky, analytically it's not fluky. So I mean, props to that dude. Let's run down some of those actives and inactives. I'm also going to read some of the most notable defensive players. Just
Ravens. Did you see that?
The Ravens list is insane. I'm just going to hit a couple of the top ones. That Ronnie Stanley one matters a lot for me because we'll get to the defensive side of things, and the Houston Texans are freaking free.
You said it.
They're
scoring. They're
paying
scoring within the
us.
first 10 minutes.
They're paying us to play the Houston Texans against Cooper Rush with no Ronnie Stanley, so that's why that is important. I don't think it mattered, but we'll talk about Scatterboo in just a second. But Tyrone Tracy is officially inactive. Dexter Lawrence is active, a part of that Giants pass rush up front. Miles Sanders inactive, so it can't be a bad thing for Javonte Williams. But Jaden Blue, he of the Louis Vuitton cleats. I don't know if everyone saw this story. They were getting ready to activate him this week. He's excited about it. So he shows up at practice with some fancy custom Louis Vuitton cleats. And they are so stiff and uncomfortable. His feet start getting blisters all over him. And he had to go change his cleats. And the coaches made fun of him and everything. But he is active. He didn't lose his chance to be active because of that. So maybe your Jaden Blue summer bags are doing well. Foster Moreau and Taysom Hill are back, and Juwan Johnson is active. But the days I think of 100% snap share Juwan Johnson are probably long gone. Let's see. Brock Bowers, of course, is out, and Michael Mayer is also out. So I think it's Ian Thomas is the starting tight end for the Raiders, which I didn't know he was on the Raiders a couple of weeks ago. It's bleak over there. We'll talk about that one and Jacoby Myers and everything as well. Anybody that I missed that you guys are seeing that you want to hit on?
I mean, well, for me, the Ravens, just Kyle Hamilton being out, Roquan Smith, Chidobe Awuzie. They're missing three, or Marlon Humphrey is also inactive. They're missing so much of their secondary. I know Houston's implied 21 points from the Vegas totals. I am falling more and more in love with CJ Stroud as the passing second, and I feel gross about it. But you could just play Stroud, Woody Marks, and Nico Collins and just keep going. And it's like, I didn't write that up. That wasn't one of my original thoughts from my Vanek Views article on the RotoGrinders. But I mean, 1% owned on a defense that's given up over 1,000 yards. We saw Patrick Mahomes all of a sudden figured out how to throw a football down the field this past weekend. Like, it just feels so easy. I don't know. It feels like a very easy stack that's super, super low owned. And maybe I'm crazy, but it's just where I'm falling in love with this week.
I like it too, Neil. What I will say is nothing feels easy about CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans. That's my only devil's advocate, but it does feel good. What do you think about the Texans after this kind of? We knew it was going to be bad, right? We knew a bunch of these guys were out already, but it got worse from Friday to today. It got significantly worse on both sides of the ball for the Ravens. So it's pretty bleak. Does that make you like the Texans more?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I already was going to be playing some of the Texans. I think like Jordan said, Woody Marks, you can play right in that stack. I think he's a really strong stacking option. Really, I think I'm probably just playing three of them: Woody Marks, Nico Collins, and then for me, it's Christian Kirk. This has been kind of a slot funnel so far this year. Fifth in terms of schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed per game so far this season to the slot receiver. With all the defensive injuries, like who knows how that changes the equation there. Maybe it's just the Nico Collins show, but Christian Kirk, I think, is still like, he's only running like 60% of the routes, but he has been targeted, somewhat frequently so far. He in his, I think, just 2 games so far, he's been targeted enough that I'm interested there. He's only 4,300. So to me, it's probably just those three. You could go to some Dalton Schultz, but not a priority for me.
Is there any? I can't believe I'm saying this. Is there any concern that the Ravens can't push the Houston Texans to like total nuke status? Do you have any concern about this?
I mean,
Zero concern.
You gotta want TJ Stroud to look great. Like they desperately need to figure out how to get him confidence.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
like I think the throwing against the uniforms will just automatically do it. Maybe it feels good to be like, oh, we're in Baltimore, just dominating them, even though we know like this is not Baltimore.
Yeah.
Also, the price tags make it less of a concern. Like if they're putting up enough points that they're gapping the Ravens, then it's like, well, then they're already paid off their price tags. I mean, Nico a little bit more expensive, but still, I think pretty unlikely that they put up a huge score and don't pay off their salaries and look really good here.
Any Ravens at all? Are you doing any of the Derrick Henry?
Maybe like I'll have a little bit of Derrick Henry again. This is just had a conversation with my friend Mathology, who was pointing out that like this is a good defense, but they're all like really small and fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that benefits Derrick Henry, but he might be able to just bully them. So I'll make sure that I have a little bit in my portfolio, but certainly not a priority for me.
What do you think about Derrick Henry, Jordan?
I think it makes sense for like if you want CJ Stroud to go nuclear, like Derrick Henry ripping off huge touchdown runs, but then also the Ravens being bad on defense. Like it could be one of those games that just shoots out that is shock. Like it's like will shock you probably post to the fact, but then when you look into it more, like, oh, Derrick Henry alone absolutely smashed again. What year is this? Like oh, this is supposed to be the bad spot for Derrick Henry, and he goes nuclear. Like it makes a ton of sense. It's just this is such a weird slate. The more we talk about it, the more it just gets more like gross. Like nobody's mentioned a Titan or a Cardinal, and they're on the slate. I think I've listened to shows all week. Like those two, Denver and Philly, like two very good teams on paper, just going at it. Nobody cares. We're all talking about Panthers.
I just asked a question of can the Baltimore Ravens keep it close with the Houston Texans? And it wasn't like a totally ridiculous thing to ask. I think that summarizes this slate like pretty well, right? Like can Cooper Rush without Ronnie Stanley and this terrible defense actually do anything? It remains to be seen, but I agree with all of you guys' points. Let's talk about, because some of these are questions here. Jackson has a question, Brian has a question, and they're relating to like some games and some stacks, kind of like Jordan alluded to, that we haven't really touched on yet. And I like these. The first one that I want to point out, Brian mentions Jackson Dart. The New York Giants are facing a bad New Orleans Saints defense, but a New Orleans Saints team that plays really fast and throws the ball and is kind of, I'll continue to say this one, like they're plucky. The Saints are, every week they show up and you're like, wait, they're within 5 of the Bills in the fourth quarter. Like what? You know, you're just like, Kellen Moore's he's not winning, but Kellen Moore's doing a really good job. The Giants defense is not something I'm running away from. Neil mentioned like the Kamaras of the world, but I think Jordan, you like Rashid Shaheed. I think Olave looks good. Maybe not the tight ends so much. Kendre Miller, never wrong, just early, the most elusive running back in football so far this year. I think the Saints are going to be able to score, and without Malik Neighbors, that definitely hurts. But also Jackson Dart's just going to run a lot. They do have Cam Scatterbo, and now you have some cheap wide receiver options. Like who's to say Darius Slayton or Wan'Dale Robinson or something can't outscore the Rico Dowdle or the Rashad White or whatever, and then you can play them with expensive running backs. What do you think about that game, Jordan?
I actually think that's one of the more it's appealing because they're two very bad teams, but they like the way that these teams play. I do like the structure. Like I think Jackson Dart looked awesome in that first start against a very formidable Chargers defense. Watching him just run down the field first drive was like, is this guy going to get like 20 carries? Is this how he beats me? And then obviously it tapered off pretty significantly once the Chargers realized like, oh, he's trying to run as much. But the Saints, like you said, Kellen Moore's done a fantastic job. I do like Rashid Shaheed quite a bit just because the Chargers the Giants corners struggle with that style of receiver from what I've seen on film, on top of Rashid Shaheed just been really good against cover one in particular. I think the Giants are one of the highest cover one teams in the entire NFL because they have to bring someone down because they can't stop the run at all. And then on the flip side, Darius Slayton's been really good, like when he's actually given the touches and stuff. And his role is super simple. Reminds me of this guy, A.D. Mitchell, I played last weekend. He can catch the big one, but his hands actually go around the football when he's entering the end zone.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't remind you too closely.
Yeah,
we don't want the Spider-Man. He can be a different superhero.
Yeah, geez, that was it. And this week I can't play him. I wanted to, and then they said basically. Yeah, they said like, hey. And the funny thing is, I will say it now. Ashton Dullin's fumbling his first touch. It's just going to be one of those things that they're just like nobody. They should just throw the ball to Michael Pittman and avoid all of it, but they're going to somehow give Ashton Dulin a deep shot and he's going to fumble. And it's going to be like, oh no, the Colts just can't play anybody. But as far as the Saints game, like I think there's some big play opportunity. I'd mini it. Obviously, I don't like either quarterback. Dart was cool running, but he didn't look like he enjoyed getting hit. that was a thing where he started running less and less as the game went on, and then fourth down he obviously had the big moment, but he took a beating in that game, and I don't think he's going to want to run the ball as much this week.
He is an interesting guy. This game will be fun to watch regardless of how it goes. Jackson Dart hasn't learned how to slide yet. Brian Daboll still gives him a lot of grief for it, and he did not slide in that game on Sunday. Most notably, my favorite, he rips a long run. It was called back from a holding penalty, but it was like a 60-yard run. He's near the end of this 60 yards, and there's a safety coming over, right? And it's like he's about to get tackled. You're the quarterback, and someone was hopefully yelling, if there's a flag, go down, go down. He not only did he not go down, he like ran towards that guy. It was almost like he pointed him out and like punched him in the head with his throwing hand and had to come out because his hand hurt. And it's like, this kid is nuts. Like, so that's a little bit worrisome, but they do have Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston and everything behind him. So it's not that big of a deal, but I agree with Jordan. I kind of really like the passing games here, and Kamara. I mean, Kamara's like kind of a quasi part of the passing game as well. It's like we removed Malik Neighbors and no one cares. But and Tyrone Tracy and no one cares. And they're playing the Saints, but everyone cares right about we removed Bucky and we removed whatever. We think we removed Nick Chubb. How does this game like rank for you from a tournament perspective, Neil? Because I think it's one of the interesting situations that nobody's really excited to play.
Yeah, I actually really like it. And I actually will be playing Jackson Dart also. I don't think I'm playing Spencer Rattler. I've heard I did a show with our friend Squirrel Patrol actually likes Spencer Rattler. I don't think I'm going there just because there are other spots I like so much. Jackson Dart, I kind of like the unknown aspect of it. Like I think he might just be a really good NFL quarterback, and I think he might elevate the entire passing game. So even if he doesn't run as much as he did last week, and he also got hurt last week, so I think that might have been the cause that he stopped running, is that he was injured in game, questionable throughout the week. So I think he's healthy now. Maybe he continues to run, but regardless, he's pretty inexpensive. And like you said, we've just got cheap passing game options with Malik Neighbors out. Both Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton have pretty big upside here. We saw last year with Malik Neighbors out, there was a game where Darius Slayton was targeted double-digit times. We know Wan'Dale Robinson is capable of double-digit targets. So if you get a quarterback that might just be better than Russell Wilson, and maybe even significantly, like he could just elevate the entire passing game. We know that the Saints love to play at a fast pace also. So like this could just be a game where they're just going back and forth and it's fireworks throughout, and nobody is on it. So I actually really like this game environment. It's probably one of my like top 3 games at this point.
Yeah, I love this game. I'm a little more on the passing game side, but Jackson asks about Cam Scatterboo, who I do think is a good play. I will say he mentions like, running backs versus the Saints. A lot of that is like game script driven. It's actually not like super efficiency driven. Again, this is there's no one metric that is like all encompassing that's telling the full story of all this, but I like to look at EPA, right? Expected points added from a per play basis to give you just an idea of like, here's how these teams have performed thus far. And the Saints have actually been like a net tough run defense on a expected points per play, and really bad pass defense. So they're actually kind of not like, they're not a Raiders level pass funnel, just yet, or Washington Commanders level pass funnel, but they're up there from a pass funnel perspective. They've really slowed down opposing run games. I played Scatterboo last week, so full transparency, it could be a little bit of tilt still holding on 7 days later, but the Dart rushing thing is like a problem for him, because Dart, so it's like Justin Fields in that Dart's going to steal goal line touchdowns, which he did last week. Scat still got his chances to score goal line touchdowns, but Dart will get some of those. And then Dart is very Justin Fields in like first read's not there. Okay, where's the defense? Let's run. Right. And that takes away the checkdowns, which is a huge part of Scadaboo's value, is catching 3. He caught 7 balls or whatever it was 2 weeks ago. And then he only had 2 targets last week, partly game script driven, but we don't expect the Saints to like be up by 20 or something like that to where he's catching a bunch of checkdowns. So I really like Darius Slayton. And those are the famous last words of any DFS slate. But I really like Slayton and like Shaheed. You want to talk about guys who could speed the game up? Like Shaheed and Slayton could turn this. It could be 14-14 after the first quarter or something because you get some big plays. Anything else on this one that we missed? Because I do think it's really fun.
No, I saw that someone said, Jordan, you do know Dart ran less because he looked like he was in pain because he pulled his hammy. Yeah, no, pulling your hammy and then running the next weekend doesn't seem like it's going to be a very optimal situation. That's why I'm just going to play 300 more Justin Fields, who will run as a full strength player and not a full hammy.
That's the problem, is just the price relative to some of the other guys. What about Neil? Jordan talked about liking the Panthers today.
Yes.
I haven't got your thoughts on the Panther side of things. And then, the Dolphins, we've made it this far and only briefly talked about Devon Achane and a hot sprinkle of Darren Waller mentioned, which I can't believe. Jesus, 2 touchdowns.
I love Darren Waller. I played him. I played him on that slate. I almost won. If it wasn't RJ Harvey on that last drive, if it was J.K. Dobbins getting a rushing TD, I would have shipped that main slate.
See, we had the same thing in reverse. I had Gesicki and watched the Waller touchdowns, and I had Harvey, and it was like the Harvey thing was like, oh, this is great, except I played Gesicki with 1 catch over Darren Waller at tight end. But in that game today is kind of, someone might say, if you guys like Saints, Giants, Panthers, Dolphins feels bad team, sneaky shootout as well. How do you like this one? Maybe a little bit, both sides actually. No Tyreek Hill. Right. Xavier Legette is back, but no Jatavian Sanders, no Chuba Hubbard. There's a lot to like in this one. What are you doing with this one, Neil?
Yeah, I like this game. I think it's pretty easy to get overweight on both quarterbacks, both projected for like well under 5% ownership. You play 7% each of the quarterbacks, and I think you're in a good spot here. This is one of those sloppy games where it's just like there's a huge wide range of outcomes in this game with these defenses. Jordan, I know I'm playing the offense though too.
Nice,
so
dude.
I'm playing the Dolphins against this Panthers.
That's
defense.
fine.
So that is part of it.
As long as you just play Achane and Waller. If you play Waddle, then I'm not gonna like you, dude.
I'm primarily so Achane clearly the biggest priority on the Dolphins. I currently have him in over 50% of my lineups. I don't know if I'm going to keep it that high, but Achane at 7,300. He's going to be targeted, I think, double-digit times in this game. So I think Achane just like a pretty clear priority. I'll play some Waddle. Like he's had some big blow-up games without Hill. So I like Waddle a little bit. Also, maybe you're going to talk about the defensive matchup for Waddle. I don't know if he's going to get shadowed or what. You can talk about that. Currently, I'm planning on playing a little bit of Waddle. Waller, it's tough because like last week his role was actually not that great. He got the 2 touchdowns, but like what did he run, like 14 routes or so? I don't know, just not an awesome role. But I think he could expand with Tyreek Hill out. So I think he's like, it's fine if you want to play a little bit of Waller, and then Malik Washington I think is playable. I don't think NWI is somebody I'm going to get to because he just doesn't run enough routes. Maybe he picks on a bigger role than I'm expecting. But I think that I do have a lot of interest in this game. And then on the Panther side, I'm also going to be playing Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young, this is a matchup to take advantage of. He's inexpensive. He's not getting any kind of ownership. Obviously, Tedero McMillan is the number 1 stacking option here, but you can stack him with Rico Dowdle. You can Tommy Tremble. I actually really love as a tight end play this week, who's not getting any love, and he has a pretty big role whenever Jatavian Sanders is out. I think those are the only Panthers that I'm playing. But that combo I really like.
You go ahead, Jordan. I will just say I'm not playing him today, but that means you should play Malik Washington because that's my boy. I love him as a football player. You want another? This is not anywhere near as fun of a narrative, but Omar Kelly is not to be trusted from a beat writer perspective, but he is a Dolphins beat writer, and he posted you always need to look and see who on the final day of practice prep leading up, who when they're doing stretching, Mike McDaniel is like walking alongside of and talking to, and it was Malik Washington this week. I do think his role expands without Tyreek Hill. What does that mean? I'm not entirely sure, but I think he's a semi interesting play. But overall, Jordan, this game is pretty interesting. Where you looking to in this one?
So I these aren't the best grades in the world, but I do think that I've been saying it all year that Christian Roseboom is as bad as it gets as a linebacker. So far this year, his defensive grades the last 3 weeks, 29.3, 26.5. His coverage grade is 29.4. His last one was 33.2. He is as bad as it gets as a middle linebacker, and it is. And we don't have anybody to go to, which is the worst part. Like, I don't know if there's I feel like we just need to start someone else, but he also calls the defense for everybody. So it's a problem. Darren Waller to me is intriguing just because of that. Like the Panthers linebackers are the worst in football. Achane, Waller are the way you attack those linebackers. And then we saw this past weekend, the Panthers tried to put their safety more of like, oh, we're going to bring him down, Trayvon Moehrig, and actually defend like Hunter Henry and different things. That left our slot corner in a very bad situation. And Stephon Diggs was just winning pretty consistently because he was just beating our corner, and we had no safety help because our safeties were like, we need to help our linebackers. This is a slate where like Malik Washington becomes intriguing because of that. But I think like Darren Waller may not play a lot. Darren Waller is the best red zone player that Tua has ever played with. And I'm talking college and it is actually sad. Like, it's when you look back, you think like Durham Smythe, Jonnu Smith. You had OJ, you had Irv Smith in college. You had Jerry Jeudy, Ruggs, Waddle. None of these guys are these contested catch artists. These are very shifty, very win because of separation. In the red zone, they're not guys you're trying to, high point of football. Waller is that, and I think his role is literally going to be as simple as it gets. Like, hey, you're going in here to score a touchdown. And as a tight end, that makes him really intriguing. I'm surprised his ownership's so low. I guess it's the old box score chasing. Nobody does that anymore. But to me, the Panthers, we allow the most yards or second most yards to tight end. Hunter Henry ended up scoring in that game when our safety started paying attention to Stephon Diggs. You could go Waller, Achane, and then find your Bryce Young, Tet, and you're just in the game. And the big plays in this game, I think, will spark up the total play volume. That's going to be super important for these quarterbacks. I don't think Tua is going to get there just because he's just not a good DFS quarterback is what I've really learned over the years. Like, I had him with that Ravens game that once upon a time. That was a super fun time for me. Ever since then, it's just never really worked out. And I think Devon Achane and Ollie Gordon are going to be the reasons kind of why, where towards the red zone, they're going to go to Waller probably once, and then they're just going to run the ball. So it's a good game environment for sure.
Are there any other games, Neil, that from like a game stacking perspective that we haven't touched on? Is the Arizona game one that, Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison are interesting, but the Titans, woof. It's a tough scene for the Titans. Eagles, Broncos, the Eagles are priced well, but the Eagles don't do much to make us excited on Sundays. Tampa, Seattle, are any of those, make it into your player pool from like a game stacking perspective?
Only Tampa, Seattle. I don't think I'm going to be game stacking Tennessee, Arizona, Denver, Philadelphia at all. Tampa, Seattle, I actually think is pretty interesting here. I think I'm mostly playing it through the Seattle side. I think with some injuries on the Tampa side, it's a sneaky good spot. And you can just play Sam Darnold with JSN, and you can include Cooper Kupp if you want to in that stack. I don't. AJ Barner, I guess, is somebody you could almost consider, but I don't think I get there. I think just primarily I'll play some double stacks of Darnold with JSN and Kupp, maybe some skinny stacks with just JSN there. But I think Seattle is in a sneaky good spot. And then also, Chris Godwin has a pretty good role. You can play Emeka Egbuka. So I think you can play or Rashad White. So there's a lot of ways to stack that one up. Baker, one of those guys that never looks good, and then you watch the game and Baker is just such a baller. I love watching Baker play. Not a great spot against Seattle, and he's kind of expensive, so I don't know if I'll get there, but wouldn't mind having a little bit of exposure in a 150 set, but certainly not a priority. Darnold, I think, in my first 10 lineups, I'd like to have a Darnold stack, I think.
Jordan, what do you think about that game and these kind of other ones that we haven't touched on? I also just want to make sure that as you complete that, I'm realizing we haven't talked about Colts Raiders. We should probably talk Colts Raiders because that's a pretty good one. So we'll hit these kind of crappy games. Sorry, Eagles Broncos being a crappy game is bizarre, but such is life. Any of those games for you, Jordan? And then if you want to get into Colts Raiders, because I think that one's pretty fun. And of course, we got some injuries to discuss there too.
I like the JSN Rashad White mini. I know there's a lot of thoughts about Sean Tucker's role, and it's confusing, but Seattle's pretty bad at defending running backs out of the backfield because the way their coverage scheme works, it's very dependent on stopping any big play from receivers. They're playing lights out football on that side of the ball right now. It's really impressive. So I think Rashad White could catch a lot of passes at the 4,700, and then they schemed JSN up so well. And I know week one, or that's Thursday night game, it was like, oh, they don't do it too well. It's like, no, that was just, the game plan. Like Jonathan Gannon made a great game plan against JSN, and Todd Bowles, usually they play a lot of cover one, so it's going to be one-on-one coverage. And JSN, if he can beat Jacob Parrish, he'll find deep routes on crossers, just like Darnold's done all year. As far as the Colts game, the Raiders' run defense is really good, so I don't think I'm going to get to Jonathan Taylor at a chalk. He could easily hit just because of this rushing work, but Daniel Jones steals goal line touches. Like it's a very weird dynamic that is there where I don't know if Jonathan Taylor can create the big run. And if he can't create the big run, does he get enough work in that red zone area to warrant it? And then they also ran Tyler Warren in the goal line this past week, which is just another wrinkle to deter me away from him. Daniel Jones against cover 3 has been phenomenal. Raiders run a ton of it. The other stat I will say, Jacoby Myers has destroyed Mike Hilton in his career. Both games he's played him, he scored a touchdown. That says a lot about Mike Hilton, considering Jacoby Myers doesn't really score touchdowns. And he had over 80 yards and 100 yards receiving in both of those. And Lou Anarumo was the defensive coordinator for that game. So I like Jacoby Myers quite a bit. I know he's chalky and it's disgusting, but it's a spot where the Colts don't Mike Hilton doesn't defend him well, and it's a good matchup. So it's the perfect run back. I think Michael Pittman is probably the lower. I feel like he's going to be lower owned than 16%, and I think that's going to be wrong. I think he's going to be the go-to for that team.
If you had to rank the Colts guys in your, you can include Jonathan Taylor, like it could just be the one-offs, but also in a Daniel Jones stack. How are you putting together like a Colts stack? I assume it's Jacoby Myers on the Raider side, right, as a bring back. But then how would you put together the Colts side? So Michael Pittman would be number 1 for me. Tyler Warren at 31% owned is just so hard to take. I think I'd rank Josh Downs over him as well. Like if we're benching AD Mitchell, maybe Josh Downs gets a chance. Like if he gets a chance as in 2 wide receiver sets, Josh Downs is going to become a very, very good player because he's capable. He's fully capable of running that. Maybe he at 4,100 might be one. Between Downs and Pittman, I don't really have interest in Taylor. And then Warren at 31%. I know he's been so good, but Neil likes Mason Taylor and Tommy Tremble, so we're rocking with the 2,800 tight ends. Screw the 4,100 tight end. I love it. It would have been a really fun week last week if I played Tommy Tremble over Oronde Gadsden, but maybe this week we'll get it back. Neil, what do you think about Colts and Raiders?
Yeah, not a huge priority for me just because there are so many other games that I like on the slate. It's probably the one that I'm actually the most afraid of from this one could bite me. Not super afraid of like Denver, Philly, Tennessee, Arizona. Raiders Colts, like we've just seen when Danny Dimes is on, like can put up some big scores. So this one, it scares me a little bit. I don't think that I'm going to get to a ton of it from a like full game perspective. Obviously going to have some Jonathan Taylor. I will have some Tyler Warren, but yeah, not. I don't love that kind of ownership. Michael Pittman looks pretty good. I don't think I'm going to go to anybody else on the Colts. And then on the Raiders side, yeah, Jacoby Myers obviously looks good here with no Brock Bowers. Not going to be playing any of the like third string tight ends or anything, but yeah, Trey Tucker, I think, and of course Dante Thornton. After I played him previously and he did absolutely nothing, he's going to be the one that goes off this week when we're not playing him.
I totally agree. The people will ask any Trey Tucker for either of you two with no Brock Bowers.
Let me see if I'm actually getting. He's not like somebody that I'm forcing into my lineups, but I'll look if I'm actually.
4,700 is some serious sticker shock on Trey Tucker. Like I know that's like not some substantial amount, but I'm like, I don't know, man. Jameson Williams is $200 more. Like that doesn't feel right.
No. I'm currently getting 3%. Apparently, I didn't do anything to get more. So just with his projection in my run of sims, I got to 3% of Trey Tucker, 2.7 to be more specific.
Okay. So I was just about to say, if you're at 3%, yeah, you're underweight Trey Tucker. So we can use our tout lingo to make sure it doesn't sound like a Trey Tucker guy. This week, Richie, if you guys have some questions, we are about 10 minutes away from crunch time coming in. At the end of this show, in those 10 minutes, we'll give you kind of our flag plants, our bold calls, what's going to win DFS tournaments today. Up until then, we'll hit some more of the stuff about the slate and answer as many of your questions. So if you have questions, please drop them in the chat right now, and I will get as many of them as they can. Richie asked a very simple one. Is Justin Fields going to have a big game today? I think any quarterback with a pulse against the Dallas Cowboys is almost always a good bet for a big game, certainly one that runs as much as Justin Fields does. So yes, I feel a good. Now, does he have a big enough game to win you a tournament? We'll see. That is up for debate, but I'm pretty confident Justin Fields isn't going to do like what he did against the Bills today or something like that. I think that's a fair assessment. Shiv asked, oh boy, Charbonnet or Michael Carter? Oh boy, I guess Michael Carter, but that sounds disgusting. Did we discuss the Cardinals at all? Neil, are you doing anything with the backfield? Michael Carter, Bam Knight, and Amari DiMercado? What is going on? But specifically Trey McBride at tight end, and I think Marvin Harrison in a pretty good spot as well. Are you playing those guys?
Oh yeah, I'll certainly be playing some Trey McBride. Marvin Harrison, not a priority for me. Looks fine, but not somebody that I think I'm going to get to much. He's going to be, if he gets into my sims, I'll get some, but not somebody I'm getting actively trying to get to. Michael Carter on FanDuel looks particularly good. He's 4,000 on FanDuel, which is you don't see that very often for a guy who calls himself the starter. All indications are that Michael Carter is going to be the starter now. They did say like it's going to be a backfield running back by committee situation there with Bam Knight, but I think it's Michael Carter getting the first look. Amari DiMercado on DraftKings looks fine, but I don't think I get there just because there are too many other players that I like at running back. But Michael Carter, maybe a little bit on. I'll probably have a couple percent on DraftKings, but like him a little bit better on FanDuel.
Any of the Cardinals backfield for you, Jordan? And then what about the Cardinals passing game? Trey McBride up there as the most expensive tight end, but obviously warranted, especially with no Brock Bowers, and then Marvin Marv, I guess is what he is now, not Maserati Marv. He's Mazda Marv. Any interest in those guys in tournaments?
Hey, he got some confidence this past week. I don't know what it is.
I kind of like him. I kind of like him this week.
Yeah, no, I love Marv as far as the talent. I don't know if I can get to him this week because L'Jarius needs kind of a matchup that's I think will give him some issues, and they will most likely travel. I have to imagine. Trey McBride is very intriguing just because of the ownership difference between him and Tyler Warren. I can find that $1,100. As far as running backs for the Cardinals, I have no interest. I will let that be and just hope that they don't go crazy. But it's just like Michael Carter calling himself a starter. Got it. That's really fun for you. Well, I can't wait for Zonovan Knight to score. Like, what's the difference between Zonovan Knight and Michael Carter? I'm not really sure. They were both pretty good in college. I played both of Zonovan Knight at North Carolina State and Michael Carter at North Carolina as well, probably against each other too, which is really fun.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Some questions. Boney asked Neil, this is a legit good question, and this is probably good for both sites as well. But Lad versus JMO.
Lad for me, but I mean I like both of them quite a bit. But yeah, Lad is I think going to come in. Actually, JMO's coming in pretty low owned as well. I think it's more likely that Detroit spreads the ball around a lot, and it's probably going to be they're using the running backs more late. So I don't know. It's close. I love both of them, but it is Lad for me.
Jordan,
I feel like I lean JMO. Like, I love David Montgomery, but I also think that like Amon-Ra has just gotten so much of the work because it felt like the Lions were in just bigger games. This is kind of the game where they're just like, no, we're going to give you a touchdown and you a like you're going to be Oprah Winfrey out there with how many touchdowns they're going to give out to their players. I think JMO is a part of that. It's just with Lad, I like Lad. I do. On FanDuel, I think I chase touchdown and I chase the big touchdown with JMO.
I think I think I agree. I hate to,
It's
to be
tough.
the like it's really tough. They're both, I love both of them. They're really good plays. But I hate to like chase it from the narrative side of things. But frankly, we could chase it from the narrative side of Lad too, where they're like, I think we need to get this dude going. Right. It's like I felt like that about Marv too, was like, look, it's the Titans. We're probably going to win. I agree. The matchup isn't like perfect, but it's like, if they want to make the playoffs, right, they need Marv to play a lot better than he's playing right now. Let's get him going, right, in a game that they theoretically should win. I also think the Cardinals, Trey McBride is a priority for me, something that I've been thinking about. And I try to think about like where, that's why the narrative stuff is fun, where like the projections and the Sims and stuff what could they be missing that's not getting priced into there, right? That's the Montgomery. That's easy. JMO is like let's get this dude going against the Bengals, right? Like where we need JMO to breach our ceiling this year, and he's not doing it so far. But I feel like that about the Cardinals, not in like getting these guys going, but we're fixating on like, oh, who's going to step in and do the running back stuff. It's like, I don't know. I think that they just pass more. It's like, how about we just lean into Kyler and McBride and Mott, right? Like, let's not do this Bam Knight, Amari DiMercado, Michael Carter stuff too much. Let's just throw it a little bit more, and maybe then we get those guys going as well. So I like the Cardinals passing game quite a bit. A little bit more Trey McBride. I mean, I just think Trey McBride is freaking awesome. So that one's pretty easy. Brian asked Rattler or Dart straight up. Neil, I believe you said Dart for both of you guys over
Dart
Rattler.
for me. Yep, yeah. Dart for me.
Dart over
and then
Rattler.
Max asks Keenan or Lad, and I think everyone was Lad, but you did like Keenan, right, Neil?
Yeah, I'm still Lad number one. But I do like I like Keenan. I think he's going to be pretty low owned.
Any interest in the ancillary Washington guys? If we like the Chargers, right? We like very briefly touched on Debo. I think Zach Ertz is like not the worst play ever. Jaden Daniels, I don't think is going to be running quite as much as he has historically with the bubble wrap around his knee. But does that interest you in any Luke McCaffreys or Jalen Lanes or anything like that?
No, I don't. I think it's a little bit thin on this slate, but I do like both of Ertz and Debo a little bit.
Jordan,
I'm just not going to play Washington. I can't get around how bad Jaden Daniels' knee looks. It's just scarring me, and it just the RG3 stuff with that is just in my head. Like I remember
don't put that out there in the world.
Come on,
I didn't put it out there. It was put out there for me, and I read it, and I can't unsee it. I just can't.
You didn't have to tell us about it. You didn't have to tell us that you saw.
Yeah,
I could have told. No, you guys aren't playing Jaden Daniels. I don't think you are, at least.
I have him in my longest running dynasty league, and I have Caleb as my other quarterback, so I have to play Jaden Daniels. Thanks. I'm 3-1. Now I'm going to lose.
Come on.
Agree with Brian. Smash the like button. Any final questions? I just want to make sure you can pop them in before we are going to hit our final takes here on GPP Final Takes. What's going to win tournaments? Oh, I do like this one. Brian says, is Brees actually going to get over 20 carries today without Braylon?
Well, I don't think so. No, I mean, because he's going to be involved in the passing game too. But yeah, 20 carries, I don't think so, because I think Isaiah Davis probably takes on the Braylon Allen work.
That's how I feel about most of these backfields. Is like it feels like yes, Rashad is going to get a bigger workload, but it's like it just feels like these guys are going to get so much work, and then you flip at 8 p.m. tonight we're like, they got 13 touches or whatever. It feels like more impactful than sometimes it is. All right, last question. Is JSN a lock, Jordan? Yes or no? I don't think there is such thing as a lock, but is he a big priority for you, or just another good play amongst many?
He's a good play on the slate. I don't think he's that like, oh, you can't miss. Like he's very, very owned, and I look at it and I'm like, I want to get to Jamar Chase and Nico Collins. Like I want to be different, and that maybe gets me in trouble, but I also think it could separate me. So
I will say I forgot. Thank you, Boney, for reminding. Before we do our bold takes, we have to do defenses, and there's just no chance. There's no chance that we get this one right, but I'm taking some chalky low hanging fruit. What I will say is I agree with Jordan that I'm not doing the Lions. I think it seems like a good spot for the Detroit Lions. They have the highest sack rate in the NFL. But from all like the actual pressure statistics, pass block win rate, pressure rate, everything, they're not very good, actually. And so that's what's been the problem for the Bengals offensive line is like pressure, insta pressure. And I don't think the Lions are going to get that today. So can the Lions score some points? Sure, of course. But if I'm going to lean into chalk, of which I am today, I'm playing the Texans. I agree with Brit. The people playing the Saints against Jackson Dart, don't do it. Find $200 underneath your couch cushions. Just play the Texans. Once I was waiting for the Ronnie Stanley news. I was like, if Ronnie Stanley was playing, I think I would have said, let's get away from some of this chalk. I think the Texans, it's just sometimes we just got to take it. It doesn't always have to be the crazy contrarian play. I think it's too good to pass up, and it allows us to do so much with our lineups. What do you like at defense, Neil?
Yeah, I've hand built 3 lineups, and the Texans, I've bet my defense in all 3 of them, which, yeah, they're probably not going to be the highest scoring defense. Like, it's probably the field versus the Texans defense, but they certainly have the best odds of the defenses of being the highest scoring. They look great, and I think it's pretty unlikely that they score under like 5 fantasy points. So I think high upside, high floor for the Texans.
All right, Jordan, give us a defense, and then you get to kick us off with a bold call. What's winning tournaments today? Non-defense related.
Dude, I think there's 2 defenses. I not to cop out, but the Colts against Geno is staring at me in the face as the way that game fails and the chalk and everything of that regard. And the higher owned Cardinals. I know it's very pricey defense, but we have so many cheap options across the slate. It's like, how could you, I'm trying to play Nico Collins and CJ Stroud. So maybe the Texans don't score a defensive touchdown. Eric, all right, how about that? How do you not have a defensive touchdown in the first 10 minutes of every
talk to me in an
every
hour.
single slate? It's just ridiculous. But as far as my bold or hot take that wins you the slate, Jamar Chase. I roll up in the expert survey. I think he goes for over 102. He's the guy that breaks the slate for the receiver position because I don't see any. Like, I see a lot of good plays at receiver, but like we're sitting here like Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, Keenan Allen. It's like, which one of them does it? And it's like, how much of them? And then JSN, it's like he's probably going to get like 18. That's good. But it feels like Chase, I think, has a wide open range to absolutely smash this league. Neil, what about you?
I love it.
I mean, I think you're selling JSN a little bit short, saying like he's probably going to JSN. I think does have mega upside. He's had one.
His best game is 23 though.
Okay, yeah, but like he clearly has more upside. But yeah, I think I actually love that Jamar Chase call because you're right. Like you've got the salary for it, and nobody's playing it anyway because everybody's afraid of Jake Brown. And we've seen Jamar put up a 30 fantasy point game, and I forget what he put up earlier this year. I think he had another pretty big game with Browning. So I like that call. But I think what's winning the slate is Justin Herbert, and double, maybe even triple stacking Justin Herbert, I think is the way to go.
I love it. I will add on the opposite side of the Jamar Chase game. It's narrative street week. I don't care. I can't think of a cooler like narrative that we've ever seen. Most of it's like, oh, it's his birthday, right? Or like, oh, he's coming back home for the 6th time in his NFL career. It's like those don't matter. I can't think of a more perfect combination of the actual true, like really like heartfelt part of the narrative surrounding David Montgomery, not just coming back home, playing for his sister, tragedy, her seeing him for the first time, and having the single most perfect coach I could ever imagine for someone in this scenario, in the single best matchup you could ever be in against the Cincinnati Bengals defense without Joe Burrow. I'm believing it with David Montgomery. I think 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think they're going to feed him, and he's going to have a big day. So with that being said, let's bring in crunch time. I apologize, crunch time. We were going to wrap up early, but we got to talk defenses. It's apparently what we do around here. But let's bring in crunch time and get things moving. I apologize, guys. We had to talk about some fun. David Montgomery. It's a lot of David Montgomery talk, but we're hoping for some narrative. I always give you laugh. I gotta go to you first. Are you buying into all the Lions stuff that we're talking here?
Who was that first? Sorry, you cut out a little bit.
This is why I don't go to you first. This is why I don't go to you.
Was it me? You cut out. I didn't hear your name.
Brit, are you buying the Lions today?
Yeah, so I took them. They're my survivor team for sure on a lot of my things today. The Lions. Yeah, I don't think you guys were talking Jamar Chase. I think that's a bunch of nonsense. The Lions are Browning's horrible. The Bengals have given up. Lions steamroll this one. So.
I like it. Kristi, how are we feeling about the slate today?
Yeah, I like it. It's a good one. There's a lot of cheap chalk, especially at the running back position. And so I think some of those guys you were talking about with Chase and some of the Lions guys are going to go maybe a little bit overlooked to Monter St. Brown, some of those guys, just because chalk leads you to certain types of builds. So
100%.
like it.
TJ, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, you're coming in loud and clear. I was actually going to say, you don't have to apologize for being late because I just got my pizza order in. And so now I'm going to have that perfectly timed for when the games arrive.
I love it.
I'm big on the Lions today. I have a few like just onslaught stacks where I'm playing Goff, Gibbs, Montgomery, St. Brown, Laporta, and Jameson Williams. Like I'll leave one of those guys off, but play 5 or 6 Lions. We saw that win a Millie Maker once last year where it was 7 Lions in the Millie Maker winning line.
Jags game, right? Jags game, I think.
I think so. It's like that's the type of team that does it because, like you guys said, their coach will go, you get a touchdown, you get a touchdown, you get a touchdown. He'll spread it around, and even if they're up 30 plus points, they'll keep pouring it on. So I do love a Lions onslaught today.
I love it. Go Lions. Much more fun rooting for that than like Travion Henderson or something. So I'm feeling much happier as we sign off here today. These guys will get you headed up to lock, and the rest of us will see you guys in week 6. Cheers, guys.
Later.
All right, guys. Welcome to Crunch Time. Appreciate all the hosts on the other shows starting from 9:30. Hopefully you've been watching since then. I'm Brit. Here with Kristi and TJ. Kristi, I'll start with you. It's been a minute since we've done a show, I think, from last year. How's it going today? It's a fun slate. The chalk is going to be heavy, and even on a 10-game slate today, the scores are going to be high, if you ask me.
I couldn't agree more. It's great to see you, Britt. It has been a minute, but yeah, love breaking down the slate with both of you. It is. There's just a lot of chalk on the running back side, even some receivers that have popped up with so many injuries. And so I think, yeah, I like TJ's call on the Lions. I think they are super, super interesting because I think the chalk is leading you away from some of that. So love it for tournaments, and looking forward to talking it through with you guys.
Yeah, TJ, what's going on with you? You've probably been producing behind the scenes all morning long. We've got a fun slate today. What are you looking at?
Yeah, it is fun. It's every time we start these shows, like it's kind of it's not fun to be, working at 7:30 in the morning, but it is a nice way to wake up when I'm not on camera until the last show, where I just like get to start early. I get a full set of shows of, for my own benefit as well, for my own kind of research. And then now I finally have some energy and I'm all awake, and now it's time to be on camera. So nice little setup. But this is a really fun slate. Like you guys said, I think this is going to be high scoring, a very high scoring slate. I'm playing 20 lineups today. I'm doing 4 different QBs. I think I have in 1 each, and then 4 QBs in the other 16. Like I'm really just trying to keep a tight pool, as tight of a pool as I possibly can. Only playing a few running backs, only playing a few receivers outside of stacks. And so hopefully we can be on the right side of things, and this should be a fun slate.
Yeah, let's get right into it. Kristi, why don't we do maybe some more cash, and you can talk what you're doing in your single entry. I know that's sort of your specialty, what you want to do there. And TJ, you can handle some MME. Let's jump right into it. I got DraftKings pulled up on SimLabs here. Let me make it just a smidge bigger for everybody. Hopefully it doesn't screw up too much here. So we've got the best quarterback of the year, Kristi, is quarterback against Dallas. That would be your number 1 fantasy quarterback out there. We've got Justin Fields, high floor from rushing, theoretically a high floor today against Dallas. He's drawing high ownership. The problem is you can make really good teams today on both DraftKings and FanDuel. It's like all-star teams because we have some cheap running backs today. Is Fields your preferred quarterback? For 200 more on DraftKings, you can get Daniel Jones, who's proven he's been able to do it week after week after week, and he's in a reasonably good matchup. You've got Justin Herbert, too, who has a smidge of rushing upside with probably a high amount of passing upside today against Washington here. At the top, these are probably the 3 quarterbacks most people are choosing from. What do you got?
Yeah, so I do like Fields quite a bit today. The matchup is too perfect. The rushing upside is there. He's my favorite by quite a bit. So I've got him in my single entry. I do like Daniel Jones. And again, in like 20 entry max, you're going to want exposure to him. I love that. I love Justin Herbert as well. But for tournaments, Dak Prescott is another guy that I want to get some exposure to on the other side. I think that, he's coming in at much lower ownership, and I like that game a ton. And so I think getting some exposure to him, like Pickens in that game a lot, Ferguson, with Lamb out, we kind of know where things are at. And then even on the running back side with Williams, but he's kind of my pivot in tournaments. Yeah, I think Fields for me, is just a logical cash game and single entry play, really on both sides.
I think I'm running Fields personally myself on both sites as my cash game quarterback. It's too hard to pass up that quarterback against Dallas with the upside today. TJ, more from an MME perspective here. What if Fields is the highest owned quarterback? It looks like he's going to be by a lot today. The floor for Fields, in theory, is high, but we know it to be low, even against a team like Dallas. Is this a Breece Hall? It could be a Breece Hall game. Maybe Dallas somehow blows them out or something like that. How are you handling Justin Fields, who does have a lot more volatility to his game than some of the other ones, as the highest owned quarterback of the week?
So Kristi's top 3 quarterbacks are actually my top 3 as well. I love Dak Prescott for tournaments. I think Jones is great for tournaments, but Fields, I do think you can play him at that ownership in tournaments, because one of the reasons his ownership is going to be so high is, yes, he's a great play, but he's also the cash game play. He's also a great single entry play, and people will play him on his own because of that rushing upside. So for large field tournaments, you double stack him. A lot of people will play Fields on his own. A lot of people will play Fields just with Garrett Wilson. Maybe some people play Fields just with Taylor, just with Breece Hall. Pick 2 of them, and that's what you do for your large field tournaments. Like if you're playing small field stuff, you want to be keeping it as close to optimal as possible, then you don't need to. Then you certainly don't need to, or maybe you just do Garrett Wilson. But in a large field contest, pick out 2 of Breece Hall, maybe 3 if you're trying to win $1 million today. Pick 2 of Breece Hall, Mason Taylor, and Garrett Wilson, and you'll be getting much lower ownership on Fields double stacks than you will be on Fields in general. Outside of those 3, like I'll extra emphasize Dak Prescott just because I think him in the same game is such an incredible play. Like get Breece Hall on one side and then triple stack Dak on the other side, I think is one of my favorite tournament routes today. Outside of that group, I'm playing a lot of Goff. I don't like, Goff on his own. Heck, even Goff with a double stack, probably not getting there. But like I said, I'm doing the Detroit onslaught. So Goff triple stacks, playing 4 lines in a lineup, playing 5 lines in a lineup, doing a ton of that. Daniel Jones, who I already mentioned, and Kristi mentioned, he's great, especially on FanDuel, though. I'd want to emphasize he's only 7,400 over there. Nice and cheap for Daniel Jones. The other guys I'm getting to for large field stuff, just like throwing some darts, Kyler Murray, he projects super well in the blitz today. I have a stack with him and McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. together. Bryce Young, Miami's defense has just been horrific. Young's bad too, but I don't mind game stacking that up a little bit, playing some Achane on one side and then getting some Bryce and Tet. I'm okay with playing I don't feel like I have to triple stack Bryce because I think Tet's going to get a ton of the looks, but you could play Tremble in there. And I also do think there's some rushing ability for Bryce Young, especially when they get in the red zone. And then 2 of my favorites for large field tournaments, Jackson Dart going up against the Saints. Saints have been playing at an incredibly fast pace this year, so the Giants should get some more plays in than they usually do. I like pairing him with Darius Slayton, who should be stepping into Malik Neighbors' role. And then CJ Stroud, I think, is an incredible tournament play against this Baltimore team that, like, over half of their defense is out. Like, they're just going to be, and they've already been bad. This defense, in theory, should be horrific, Cowboys level bad. And so I really like CJ Stroud today. Pair him with Nico Collins. We'll get to receiver, but Collins is one of my favorite receiving plays on the slate. Compare him with Woody Marks as well. And so I'm a big fan of CJ Stroud for large field tournaments today.
All right. You mentioned a couple of my dart throws would have been Stroud, would have been Goff, would have been Jackson Dart as well. So those are a couple of guys I like. I'm glad to see you're on them as well. All right. So that's quarterback. Real quick, get the likes up. We're at 114. There's a lot of you watching. Get to 150. I'll throw a couple of bets out. TJ's sort of around two of my favorite bets of the week from a couple of things he said. I'll give them to you for free from Scores and Odds if you can give me up to 150 likes. Let's go to a running back. All right, Kristi, this is where, because we have a couple of cheap plays in Rico Dowdle, in Rashad White, in even Breece Hall a little bit today, who's probably underpriced for what should be close to a feature role, if you ask me today. It's allowing you to get the quarterback you want, the receivers you want, along with some of the running backs today. So first off, what of the cheap running backs would you rather? Rico Dowdle, who's 4,300 on DraftKings, is just a very good price for a receiving running back who's been reasonably good. I know it's the Panthers, but if he's going to get a large portion of the work today, that's a very low price tag. We've got Rashad White as well, pass receiving specialist for the Buccaneers, kind of pushed into a starting role. He's been good running the football this year, which is usually his downfall. Has Sean Tucker behind him. There's a little word they might get an undrafted rookie in a little place too, but I'm expecting White to get a large portion of the work here today. What's your preference between those? Do you even need them on DraftKings and FanDuel today?
Yeah, that's just it. Kind of just talking to DraftKings first, I would say A-Chain is a priority for me just because of his price tag. And then getting into the cheaper guys, I would say Rashad White is a guy that I want some exposure to, and Breece Hall are probably two of my favorites, even before Rico Dowdle. You might not even need them again because of some of the cheaper price tags on everything else. But yeah, for me on DraftKings, A-Chain and White are two that I'm kind of building around. Taylor's obviously, somebody in tournaments, and I'm sure TJ will talk about that. Absolutely love him. But those are some guys I'm looking at, so you flip it over to FanDuel. You can get a really nice build in there when you play the cheap guys in Dowdle, both Dowdle and White. You can just really do a lot with your lineup. Say you put A-Chain in there, and you can just really get all the good spends that you want in the receiver, even pay up at tight end if you want to. So like those guys a lot. I do like Breece Hall. And then I would say on the tournament side, just briefly, I think Gibbs is fantastic. Kind of going back to that Lions games again. There's some great guys in there that are going to go overlook. Gibbs, Barkley, guys like that. But from a cash game perspective, I do like some of those cheaper guys, and I want to get a couple of those in my lineup for sure.
Yeah, Etienne, Dowdle, Breece Hall. You could certainly play Jonathan Taylor if you showed up with him in a cash game on either site today. I think that's completely fine. And then Rashad White too. I'm finding, at least on DraftKings, the salary savings to Dowdle just gives me like an all-star lineup. So that's where I'm at from the cheap plays over White personally. I think Scadaboo's pretty interesting too, but he's basically was the odd man out, just a little bit too expensive for today. And I'm expecting him to get like 25-ish touches overall today against the Saints. What more could you ask for? All right, so TJ, tournaments, I see SimLabs is showing, even Achan with high projected ownership is showing extremely optimal to play today. Usually that pass receiving back, DraftKings, PPR, you get 6 or 7 catches for 50 yards. You're doing really good as a running back there. Not to mention he has an extremely good actual running matchup today. The Dolphins don't have Jalen Wright active. It's just Achan and Ollie Gordon. Last week, Achan was the one who closed out the game. Ollie Gordon was not when they were up here. I'm expecting a huge game from Achan. He's a priority for me on both sites pretty easily today. What are you doing with him? Do you like, SimLabs is saying more on Achan. Is that how you're playing it?
I am still playing a ton of Achan, but just because it's easy to find salary, I'm getting to more Jahmyr Gibbs and Jonathan Taylor. And so I do think those are the clear top 3 expensive running backs. Like, you're never wrong to play Saquon Barkley. I'm not doing it. Derrick Henry, I think, is interesting if you're playing a CJ Stroud stack. But other than that, it's like a clear Achan, Taylor, Gibbs. And I think that's the order I would want to play them, like in single entry optimally. But in large field tournaments, I just would flip it based on that ownership. I love Jahmyr Gibbs for tournament. Jonathan Taylor second with Devon Achane third. I'm still trying to get a lot of all three of them though. Outside of those guys, in terms of the cheap options, I prefer Dowdle over Rachaad White on both sites. And then I like Rachaad White a lot better on DraftKings than I do FanDuel. On FanDuel, I don't think you really need Rachaad White because he's not quite as cheap and you don't get the point per reception over there. And he's probably a guy that we're hoping to catch a fair amount of passes today. So White I like more on DraftKings, but on both sites I like Dowdle more than him. Woody Marks is maybe my favorite tournament play on the slate. Like he's going to be super low owned today, projecting single-digit ownership. There's just so many great tournament plays, and this is a guy that we are expecting to start taking over the backfield for Houston, and this is just such a wildly depleted Baltimore team. So I really like Woody Marks for tournaments. Getting some David Montgomery in tournaments. We got the narrative street there. He is returning home to his hometown of Cincinnati for the very first time, and his sister, who is got in a bad car accident that left her paralyzed, she doesn't get to travel, doesn't get to see him play, and so this is the first time she's going to get to see him play today in his hometown of Cincinnati. Dan Campbell's going to give this guy at least a touchdown today, right? And so I do think Montgomery is interesting on his own, paired with the Lions defense or as a part of the Lions onslaught stack. I don't think it's crazy today to play David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs in the same lineup. I think it's viable, even with how many great running backs we have, because I think Detroit's putting up at least 40 points today. I like Breece Hall. I like Scattaboo. I have one Hampton lineup, but he's going higher owned than I would have wanted him to. And so, that's basically, that's my entire pool. Taylor, Gibbs, Achane, up top, White, Dowdle, Montgomery, Marks, Hall down low, and then Scattaboo and Hampton when they fit.
All right, so that's some running backs. Before we get to wide receivers, I want to tell you guys about a 3-day pass you can get here at RotoGrinders. You want to try out the tools without a full season commitment. Maybe not for this week, but for next. For a limited time, you can get half off a 3-day NFL pass and access everything you need to crush the slate. Lineup HQ, SimLabs, everything you need to beat NFL for $9.99. Make sure to check that out. All right, let's go to wide receiver. Again, Kristi, it's kind of the same between most of the sites today. You can get the guys at wide receiver you want today. Amon-Ra, JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba for Seattle. You have your choice of them. You get JSN's a little bit cheaper. I don't know. Last week wasn't a great week for him, but he still sort of came through. Just looks to be the absolute, he's like a cheaper Puka Nacua, if you ask me, in terms of the amount of target share that you're getting. You've got George Pickens, who's in a seemingly somewhat tougher matchup against Sauce Gardner today, but Pickens, he beats man, doesn't really bother him too much. Pickens, after a huge game last week in the CeeDee Lamb role, looks to be pretty
Sauce has been trash this year too.
Yeah, he's not been good. Garrett Wilson, right? We mentioned Fields. The offense goes to Garrett Wilson. It goes to Breece Hall. It goes to the tight end. This is where the ball goes for the Jets. He looks pretty popular too. You've got a couple other mid-tier plays of like a Jalen Waddle, a Deebo Samuel, a Jacoby Myers, who all based on injury should be getting some more targets today. Out of maybe these top three guys, the one guy I'm sort of off that I know a lot of people are on is Quentin Johnson, because he's been doing it. But I don't know. Is he always going to be doing it? Is it ever going to be a Ladd McConkey week? If McConkey has a big week ever, it's probably at the expense of Quentin Johnson. So Johnson's probably more of a tournament play for me than cash. I know some people are on him in cash. I'm not personally. You can get all three of these top guys in on both sites relatively easily today. You've got a couple cheaper options too if you want to spend up somewhere else. How are you playing it?
Yeah, you're right. There's so many good plays here. I would say Wilson is a guy that I want to get exposure to just because I've got Fields in there too. Jackson Smith-Njigba, his price is really good, especially on DraftKings. I do like that, and it's kind of a nice pairing even with Rachaad White, getting some exposure to that game. Pickens, like you mentioned, I definitely want to get to him as well. I do agree with you on Quentin Johnson. I would say if you're going to play him, I like him more so on DraftKings. He's really priced up more over on FanDuel. Didn't talk about Deebo Samuel, but I think he's cash game viable, especially over on FanDuel too. He's got his quarterback back, and they just utilize him so many different ways. So I do like him. Jalen Waddle pops in a lot of optimals too, just because he's so cheap, and with Tyreek out, makes a lot of sense. He's under 6K on FanDuel. Good price really on both sites. So like that. Jacoby Myers, I think, really makes a ton of sense too. Definitely has some upside today. You mentioned Lad McConkey, more so tournament just because of what's happened so far. But you're right. I mean, any given week, we could see him explode too. We saw what he did last year. So I think he's a great tournament play. Chris Olave, I think on a cash game basis too, is someone, he's just getting a ton of targets. Don't mind that. But yeah, I think for me, I think for cash, Myers, Pickens, Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith-Njigba are all kind of guys that I'm targeting at the top, and pretty easy to fit in again because of the running backs being so cheap.
What about on your single entry or MME teams? Anything you're playing for big money? What's like your one? You got to pick one receiver you got to have on your team today. Who is it, Kristi?
Yeah, I do have a lot of pairings with Garrett Wilson. I just like that game. And then I like actually Wilson and Pickens. I probably have most exposure to those two guys. I just think it's important. Love that game a lot.
All right, TJ, from my old MME articles on the Millionaire Maker, usually you want to fade one or even two of these high-priced wide receivers, or the highly owned wide receivers. I don't know, man. This doesn't look. Usually, that's when they're horrible players who get boosted up because of an injury. These are all good players who may or Pickens has been boosted up, but he's still been good. He just showed out a good game last time out here today. Which one of these are you highest on? And maybe out of JSN, Pickens, and Wilson, if you had to pick one that you think is more likely to fail, who would that be?
Who is the three you gave?
The top here. So Njigba, Pickens, and Wilson.
Well, I think Jacoby Myers is the clear top option. No Brock Bowers today. Right. He is. I feel like if from a cash game perspective on DraftKings, like you basically have to play Jacoby Myers and JSN. And then the third one is up in the air that you can choose between the Garrett Wilsons, and I think you can even go all the way up to Amon-Ra St. Brown or Deebo Samuel or Chris Olave. Like, I think those are all viable as the wide receiver three. Mm-hmm. But Jacoby Myers and JSN, I think the clear top options today. The only reason you wouldn't play them would be potential ownership. And then I'm getting to – hold on, sorry. I switched over to FanDuel for a FanDuel question, so I'm actually just going to start over there, and then I'm going to make my pivot back. On FanDuel, I don't think JSN is near as necessary. You don't get the point per reception over there, plus he's all the way up at 8,500, whereas you have Pickens at 71, Deebo Samuel at 74, Ladd is super cheap, Tent McMillan super cheap, Olave is cheap, Myers is 6K, Waddles is 5,800. I think there are so many good – below 7,100 and below receivers on FanDuel that I don't really think you need to go all the way up to a JSN over there. So that's probably the guy that I would fade on FanDuel. And a great pivot on both sites as we make the pivot to DraftKings. I think Nico Collins might be my favorite tournament receiver on the slate. I just want to keep attacking this Baltimore defense. He's cheaper than JSN on both sites. I think he is an incredible tournament play today. I do like all three Chargers guys, but I'm not getting there a ton. I'm kind of fading the Chargers at fairly high ownership today just because of those offensive lineman troubles I think they're going to be having with no Joe Alton there. And so I'm hoping that game is not as high scoring as people think it is. If it is, I'm probably not going to be winning much money this week. In terms of like the other chalky guys I do like I like Pickens, Deebo Samuel, Garrett Wilson, but some of my favorite pivots today are going to be Nico Collins up top, Chris Olave, Michael Pittman, Jameson Williams in the mid-range. And then if I need to punt, my favorite option is going to be Jalen Tolbert. No CeeDee Lamb, no Kevontae Turpin. This Jets defense has been really, really bad. I think a 3,600 Jalen Tolbert is a very strong play. And then I'm even playing in my Indy stacks. I'm playing some Ashton Doolin to go alongside with Michael Pittman and Tyler Warren.
hopefully you want the Donnie or Mitchell to not really see too many snaps today. So
yeah, well, they like unless they're lying, they said he's going to be active but be behind Doolin.
Yeah, we'll see how that ends up playing out here. Trey Tucker, lower ownership. I think he's slightly interesting today. You mentioned Tolbert. I like him. Darius Slayton for me, especially in dart stats or even not in dart stacks. Every time he really gets the lead job without Neighbors, he seems to come through. Dart takes off a little bit too much, and they were throwing short. But Slayton, they've had a week to game plan for this one. Slayton seems reasonably interesting too. As someone who could put up a high score that's low owned. Kristi, if you got like a these sub 5% owned wide receivers, those were a couple of them. It's just the ownership at wide receiver is so condensed to good players today because you have the salary. It's not very tough. I wish it was a little tougher around the industry this week. I don't know if you really need these guys, but those were a couple I was looking at. How about you?
Yeah, I like those guys too. I do think Trey Tucker, you mentioned Jalen Tolbert, just because I have a lot of interest in that game. Like him at just 3,600. Yeah, those are a couple guys that just from more, single entry and just a few entry lineups, those are guys that I'm kind of targeting.
All right. Get a couple more likes in. I'll throw a couple bets at you. I'll give you one real quick right now to get in. The Texans money line, I got it up at Scores and Odds. This was before everyone got ruled out. I kind of was reading the tea leaves. I was at -112. If that's good still. You can just whatever the Texans money line is, go bet that one. Texans are probably going to win today, if you ask me. Although the NFL can be fickle. NFL is really a turnover league. If you win, if you get an extra turnover or two, you basically win the game nowadays, just because it's so hard for the deep passing and stuff like that. But I do like the Titans quite a bit. All right, tight end. Kristi, everyone's playing Tyler Warren. He's reasonably priced. You have the salary today. Trey McBride, always a good PPR play. These guys are eating up 50-ish% of the ownership. This is a lot of ownership going to the top two tight ends. Warren's someone who, I don't know, between there's Daniel Jones is good around the end zone. Jonathan Taylor's great. You can say it for all three of them, right? You have Warren and Daniel Jones stealing touchdowns from Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor, who's awesome, who can get an 80-yard touchdown and steal plays from the other two. I like Warren. He seems very consistent, has some rushing ability. I don't know. I think for tournaments, if he's going to be 30% owned, that's someone I'd be willing to kind of move off of. I don't know why Brock Bowers is in here. I'd probably have to check and maybe refresh that, but he shouldn't really be drawing any ownership. Guys I like would probably be a Jake Ferguson. Tommy Tremble I played Tommy Tremble on cash on DraftKings last week. I was like the only person to do it. I have no idea why. You don't need to do that this week, but I like a guy like Tommy Tremble. Mason Taylor's pretty popular. I'm sure you're using him in your Justin Fields. You got 2-touchdown Darren Waller, who's he's going to play a lot more snaps and run a lot more routes this week. Just if Tyler Warren is 30%,
I don't think he's ever. I don't think that's true. I think he's always going to be a guy that is a strict red zone usage guy, and I don't think he's ever going to be playing 60-70% of snaps.
I think probably around 50 today. I'd say that. But I mean, where else are they going to throw the ball to today? Is kind of what I'm saying there. And it worked last year for the Dolphins. They need someone that's a red zone threat, and he is certainly that. So, where are we going, Kristi? Warren's a cash game. I think I'm not loving that, but you have the salary, and he's been good. But for tournament, someone at that ownership absolutely would be looking to get different on.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I know that 30% ownership on a guy like Warren, like you said, when there's other red zone opportunities, makes it a little tough. But you're right. It just kind of works itself out that way. I do think McBride, he's coming in at less ownership, about 19% ownership. It looks like we have him at. So I do like both of those plays. Ferguson, obviously, in that game environment, I think he's fine too if you land on him in cash. But Sam Laporta, I think, is a great pivot at a lot less ownership. Again, we talked about that game and liking it quite a bit. Still a good price point. I mean, he's just 4,200 on DraftKings. He's under 6K on FanDuel. So I do like that. And in a couple lineups, I think he's a sneaky pivot option, like him more so than like a Darren Waller. Mason Taylor, you mentioned him, super cheap, 2,800 on DraftKings. Don't mind that, but Yeah, I'm kind of keeping a smaller pool for tight ends and kind of working them in, kind of what my stacks look like for the most part.
Yeah, TJ, what are you doing with Warren at this high of ownership on both sites? You can get to him. You can, McBride, if he finds the end zone, he's always going to be towards the top because he's always going to get his 8 to 9 targets for 50 to 80 yards, something like that. If he gets into the end zone, which has been a problem in his career, he's going to be up there as someone you might need to have too. What are you looking like at the tight end position?
Yeah, I'm playing Tyler Warren in cash and with Daniel Jones, but other than that, I'm looking to mostly fade him in large field tournaments. Same with Ferguson. Like, I'm mostly just getting to him with Dak Prescott, and then outside of that, not really getting him in large field tournaments. Mason Taylor is probably my favorite option. They are trying to get him more and more involved, and there's been coach speak for it, and then the snaps and routes and targets match the coach speak. And so anytime you can kind of tell that people are telling the truth and trying to get somebody more involved, I want to be getting on that before his price goes up. And so Mason Taylor, I really like today. Sam Laporta, I'm playing a ton of alongside all my Jared Goff teams. And then outside of those guys, like, that's most of my pool. I am playing Darren Waller in my Bryce Young stack. I am playing Taysom Hill in one of my 20 lineups. He's back, baby.
It just came out. Taysom Hill has no limitations for week 5. Just came out from Jay Glazer. That generally means
he's such a freak of nature, man. He's 35 years old, and he tore his ACL in December.
I don't have the time because I'm on the show, but on that report, I would be hitting some Hill overs on whatever you can find on Taysom Hill right now. The other bet I like is Tommy Tremble. I mentioned that. You can get 25.5 yards. It's like whenever one of Ja'Tavion Sanders or Tommy Tremble's out, the other has a big game. It's like it always works. Tommy Tremble, 25 yards. We crushed it last week. They didn't move the line, and we're going to crush it again this week with Tommy Tremble. We'll go bet the over on 25.5 on that. Real quick, defense, Texans over the Saints if you're looking cheap. I do like the Cardinals. I usually don't have money for expensive defenses, but I would take the Cardinals over the Lions if I was playing at the high end today. I think the Giants over the Saints, it's like a swerve. I think the Saints will be reasonably popular. The Giants defensive unit is definitely the best unit on that entire field today, offense or defense. They got Carter running around a little bit more today. A couple of things I like. Anyone else, TJ or Kristi, anyone of you on defense?
Those are literally the guys that I like to. I think you can get to Arizona. I do think Houston is a great play. Saints if you need them, but I think Houston's going to be very popular, so I don't mind spending up this week to Arizona.
All right.
I think top overall for a spend up for me is the Lions, and then as a spend down is the Texans, and then for some lower ownership for pivots, I really like the Seahawks and the Colts.
Yeah, Seahawks are interesting to me as well. All right, let's go to the live stream chat on RotoGrinders, or if you're in YouTube, we'll answer some questions. First, I'll go to the Discord. This is from the Donkey. FanDuel Cash. This is a 4-fer. This is a lot, so try to pay attention here. Kristi, JSN, Amon-Ra, Dowdle, and the Dallas D, or Jonathan Taylor, Waddle, Olave, in Arizona?
I think I'd go with the second one.
I think I would as well for Donkey. All right, let's go to some YouTube. Let's see what we got here. There's a lot going on in YouTube. Let's see. Pickens or Garrett Wilson? This is a tough one. I think you got to go with Pickens. It's very hard to look past the volume, the role, his ability, if his head's on straight. I like Wilson, but Pickens would be the priority for me choosing those two. Heads up, Kristi.
Yep, agreed.
TJ, what do you got between those two?
Yeah, straight up it's Pickens. Point per dollar Wilson, but straight up Pickens.
All right. Daniel Jones from Alex. He's always in chat. One of the others. So this is the question I have, Kristi, and I'll throw it to you. Justin Fields or Daniel Jones for DraftKings cash? You have the money. Those are basically the two guys today. I'm playing Justin Fields. I'm playing quarterback against Dallas for the most part, unless something proves wrong. I don't think I am for playing Daniel Jones, but those are the two guys that should be on your cash lineups today.
Agreed. Yep. And that's what, yep, exactly. I have Fields too. I've tagged him and I just, like his upside.
All right. TJ, this is from Beaner in the RotoGrinders Discord. Woody Marks or Rico Dowdle for a FanDuel tournament today?
If you have the salary, do Woody.
I would agree. Dowdle's going to be pretty popular, I think, on FanDuel today with his low price tag, and Marks is a pretty nice swerve, in my opinion, to get different with some upside. Let's see if we can get a couple more. Jamar Chase on DraftKings. I have no interest from cash or anything. He should be like 60. He should be $6,000 to me. TJ, what are you doing with Jamar Chase in that game? You mentioned you're doing the Lions onslaughts, so you probably would be the most pertinent person to talk to about it.
I'm in one of my Detroit onslaughts. I don't like Jamar Chase today, but some very smart people on the show right before us love Jamar Chase today, and so I threw him in a lineup.
All right, let's see. Best sub 4K wide receiver on DraftKings today. TJ, who are you looking to fill out your lineup with?
Tolbert.
I like Tolbert. Kristi, would you have one?
Yeah, that's probably who I have the most of too. Tolbert is Tolbert, Trey Tucker, guys I like, but yeah, Tolbert.
Yeah, Tolbert's probably. I'm just looking around real quick. Tolbert. I haven't really had to dabble in
the other guy, but I like Tolbert better.
Yeah, Tolbert for sure. Get 3-4 catches, the ability to get in the end zone today. He's certainly there. You don't need the absolute cheap play this week like you normally do on DraftKings, but it's great. And shout out to my Thursday lineups. Kendrick Bourne. Woo! What a $3,500 play that was. That one worked out really well over there. Let's see here. FanDuel. Kevin wants to know Waddle and the Cardinals D or Debo and the Giants D. So I guess, Kristi, for you, would you rather have Waddle or Debo straight up, and then to get the Cardinals D against the Titans, which is just like the quarterback against Dallas, defense against the Titans? I mean, these are sure things. It's a little harder to get peak performance out of a defense, but what's your preference there, the receiver or the defense?
Yeah, I think I'd go with Debo.
What about you, TJ, on that one? Debo and Giants or Waddle Cardinals?
I'd do Waddle Cardinals, actually. But I would do Waddle Lions instead.
Yeah, all right. I understand that one. Let's see. Every time Waddle gets play, he gets hurt and then never returns. I don't know. There's nowhere else to throw the football, and he should really have a big role today. I like Waddle to have a good game. It's just the problem is there's more expensive receivers to me that are just even you have salary. You don't have to gamble on a Waddle to me generally overall today. Although,
right.
Again, I do expect him to have a good game. We got about 3 minutes left. Let's see. New Beach from the RotoGrinders Discord. This is a Justin Fields lineup. Saints and Ruckert or Texans and Mason Taylor? I mean, obviously it's Texans and Mason Taylor for that question today.
Oh, yeah.
That's an easy one.
Texans over Saints and Mason Taylor way over Ruckert.
Yeah. Bates wants to know, Kristi, this is DraftKings cash, and this is why I understand Jacoby Myers, and I want to play Jacoby Myers on my cash team, TJ. It's just I don't need Jacoby Myers on my cash team today because there's Breece Hall and George Pickens, or Mario Hampton and Jacoby Myers, and without question, unequivocally to me, it's Breece Hall and George Pickens over Omari Hampton and Jacoby Myers, if that makes sense to anybody. Would you agree, Kristi?
Yep, I totally agree.
I was looking at Myers all week long, and it's just I don't need him this morning.
I don't think you need him. Yeah, yep.
He's like the 4th or 5th wide receiver to me, and I would on a different week.
He is the 4th highest raw points receiver in the blitz.
I believe he was there last week too. I don't know. I'm not.
I mean, no, he projected for 16 points last week. Now it is over 19 with the Brock Bowers out.
I understand that for sure. I don't know. I don't trust Geno Smith as a quarterback right now, or that Raiders offense. So I'm gonna
over about 200 yards and 2 touchdowns in his last 2 games against the Colts defensive coordinator.
Oh, all right. That's a good little nugget here. So I don't have the time to do it, but he would be tournament for me. I understand. I don't think I'd fault anybody for playing him in cash. But he's in the grouping, just not someone that made it onto my team today. All right, I think that's going to be about lineup lock today. I hope everyone teams hit, and I do hope Jacoby Myers has a good game today because I wanted to play him all week long. I just didn't end up using him. Kristi,
I actually think he's an interesting turn. You were saying you'd rather play him in tournaments. I think he's an interesting tournament fade because he's probably going to be 20-25% owned today.
Where do you think that ownership's going to fall? I mean, we will be able to see that in a few minutes. Yeah, that is a 1:00 game. I don't think he's going to get up there, TJ, because I think that there's just too many. You don't need that price range on receivers. You can if you want. If you want to play Jonathan Taylor and you want to play Jaden Daniels and you want to play Amon-Ra St. Brown, sure, but you just generally your lineups you don't need that today. Is what I'm coming down to.
I don't know. I think the 5 to 6K range is where people are actually going to be going the most in at receiver today. I think it's going to be JSN and then the 5 to 6K receivers.
Yeah, I got JSN, Pickens, and Garrett Wilson on DraftKings, and I'm like, those are like 3 of the highest 4 projected players for me. So I can't fault any. I don't.
We'll double check when the ownership is up, but I will almost guarantee that Myers' ownership will be higher than Pickens is.
I don't.
That's my take.
All right,
I'll be curious on that. Yeah,
we'll see on that one. I'll message you in a few minutes when the cards fall down, TJ, on that one. We'll do in the Millionaire Maker. I'll take a look at that for you real quick in just a second. But I hope everyone out there has a good afternoon. May all your players hit, whether it's Jacoby Myers or somebody else. Kristi, it was fun catching up with you on the show.
You too.
Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Click the like button on the way out. TJ, thanks for working all morning behind the scenes and coming on today. I'm Britt, and we out, chat.